Donald Trump held a massive rally at Madison Square Garden. It's not the first time a political rally has been held there. You may remember the shocking Democrat National Convention in 1992, or I think Jimmy Carter also accepted the nomination in the late 70s. So it's not particularly weird at all that a political rally would be held at Madison Square Garden. But of course, MSNBC is saying that it was a Nazi rally and the Democrats are all running out screaming that Trump is Hitler. I guess that's the October surprise because that's the only thing they have 8 days out from the election. But OK, whatever. But anyway, at that rally, Tony Hinchcliffe of Kill Tony made several off-color jokes. And everybody's mad about it. Actually, a bunch of Republicans are mad about it. But I think all the middle of the road people who are supporting Trump really don't care that Tony Hinchcliffe said that there's an island of garbage in the middle of the ocean. I think it's called Puerto Rico. He's making a joke. It's subverting your expectations. Now, they're losing their minds over this. And, well, I think it's all they've got. It's kind of sad that it's all they got. So we'll talk about that. Then we've got this crazy story out of Portland and Washington where ballot boxes were torched. This time, it's legit. There's video from local news outlets. Somebody threw explosives in a ballot box. I can only imagine more shenanigans is going to be happening like this. A bunch of court rulings have come in about whether or not mail-in votes can be accepted. Of course, in Mississippi, we got the ruling that if the ballot comes day of or after, if the ballot comes after, even if it's postmarked day of, no good. It's illegal. But now Nevada is saying, actually, if it's not done properly, it can be brought in within 3 days of the election. And in Pennsylvania, Republicans lost. They're now saying, like, even if the ballot's not done properly, you can still count it. So we're going to talk about all that stuff, my friends. Before we do, head over to preservegold.com/Tim We have a presidential election around the corner, and it's impossible to predict what will happen. However, whenever there is uncertainty, whether political or economic, demand for gold tends to go up. Financial experts are urging Americans to prepare now. With inflation soaring, a border crisis affecting cities and small towns, and warnings of a recession, my friends, we are living in insane, unpredictable times. To protect your retirement accounts and 401ks, you should strongly consider physical gold and silver. Right now, Preserve Gold has an exclusive offer for my viewers where you can get up to $15,000 in free gold and silver with a qualified purchase, as well as a free guide. Text TIM to 50505 to learn more or visit preservegold.com/Timpool. Preserve Gold has hundreds of 5-star reviews, millions of dollars in trusted transactions with happy clients. And whatever it is you're doing right now, we are 8 days away from potentially one of the most, if not the most consequential election in U.S. history. So take it seriously. Of course, head over to castbrew.com and buy coffee because coffee tastes good and we all like it. We've got Appalachian Nights, everybody's favorite. But don't forget Stand Your Grounds. Stand Your Grounds is delicious as well. And if you get a tummy ache from drinking coffee, there's always Ian's Graphene Dream Low Acidity Blend. It's very good. People say it's easier on their stomachs. And then actually, Halloween at midnight, we've got a new song coming out called Hunger Inside, which the music video, of course, is a promo up where it's a chicken fighting zombies. I strongly encourage you to check it out. You can go to Hunger Inside. I think it's hungerinside.com, actually. Wow, we got that one. Yeah, and check out the new song. Become a member at timcast.com. And you can join a community of people on the Discord server. So if you're looking for people to hang out with, you want to meet new people, you're trying to make friends, and you want to share ideas, timcast.com, click join us, become a member, get in that Discord server. There are very many, thousands upon thousands of people. And you can be hanging out with them, making new friends, and a lot of new friends have been made. And we're going to have that members only show where tonight James O'Keefe will sing Plush by Stone Temple Pilots on the... He's laughing. On the members only show, and you can call in. So, of course, smash the like button, share the show, leave us a good review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. And obviously, joining us tonight to talk about this and everything else, it's James O'Keefe.
Hello, Tim.
James, who are you?
A lot to talk about, a lot going on in the world.
Yeah, you're going to be covering Plush by Stone Temple Pilots.
I'm excited mostly about that. I love music and dancing and joy.
Well, it's not allowed. You're not allowed to do that.
Not allowed. Yeah, a lot of.
You've had a couple of really big stories recently, and one of them was that some election official was yelling at you for dancing.
Yeah, that was the video.
It's not the real story, but
no, but it's always the reaction to the action that's actually the most interesting. And this is in Maricopa County. We have like 200 people recording inside poll locations, and this story wasn't even that big of a story. It was just I wanted them to know that we're on the inside. And the Maricopa County election officials like freaked out, and one of them started attacking the fact that I dance.
Well, have you considered not dancing?
It just sounded completely bizarre.
You can moonwalk really well.
I can moonwalk, I can break dance, I've done Oklahoma, but a lot of Republicans don't like this about me. I don't understand why they were attacking the Democratic convention. They were dancing. Since when? Communists attack dancing. So I don't quite understand that one.
But then you've got another movie coming out, or you have a movie that came out already, I believe, right? Line in the Sand.
Line in the Sand is a big one, and it took me a year, so we can talk about that.
We got to talk about it because I was getting riled up watching it. I'll just say it before we move on to Ian, of course. When you showed all of these people who know they're doing something wrong, and you can see the look on their face, and they always respond with, well, I'm just doing my job, which literally translates to, I know what I'm doing is wrong. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'd like to
Bringing
talk
in
about that.
trafficking. We'll get into all that stuff. Ian's hanging out.
Yeah, I guess it makes you a quintuple threat. You're a musician, actor, dancer, director, and journalist. That's maybe why.
And DJ.
Oh, and DJ, a sextuple threat. To my right over here, James O'Keefe, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to be here, guys. Ian Crossland in the house. Let's rock and roll, Mary.
Big fan of Oligarchy, by the way.
Oh, you know that one.
Yeah, that one's a bop.
You like that. Wait,
I should introduce myself, though. My name is Mary. You will usually find me on a show called Pop Culture Crisis here at Timcast, but I'm happy to be back on IRL.
James just lit up. He's like, you know my song.
I just want to talk about music the whole time.
We can do that. Let's do that.
Wait, is bop, is that
Pop culture crisis.
is that a Gen Z term?
Bop, well, it's actually gone through an evolution where it kind of means the same thing as thought now.
Is it like the
but
Riz?
It used to mean a really good song.
Okay, the Riz.
Not the same thing.
And not
no.
I don't even know these Gen Z terms.
You have the Riz.
I feel old.
That means
for the
charisma.
record.
Are you feeling the Riz? Yeah.
I am feeling the Riz every time he walks in the room. Yeah. Also, you,
Aura.
Mary, you're holding it
Aura.
down. You got the Riz as well.
All right, let's jump to the first story. We've got this from the BBC. Backlash after comedian at Trump rally calls Puerto Rico an island of garbage. Tony Hinchcliffe is a hilarious guy. Kill Tony's a massive show. It's wildly successful, and it's ridiculous that they're. You know what this is? Let me just put it this way: they can't go after Dave Chappelle in much the same way. He's too big. They can't go. They try to go after Joe Rogan, but he's too big. Tony's relatively new. I don't want to act like he's just completely new, but Kill Tony is skyrocketing. It's not Dave Chappelle levels yet, but he did sell out Madison Square Garden, I think twice. So they're banking off of people not knowing who he is. What they're doing now is Tony Hinchcliffe opens this rally with comedy. He rags on everybody. It's what comedians do. But you now see Geraldo Rivera, you see The View. They're trying to make it seem like Donald Trump himself called Puerto Rico an island of garbage. But let me play for you what Tony actually said.
It is absolutely wild times. It really, really is. And, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now. Yeah. I think it's called Puerto Rico. Okay. All right.
It got mixed laughing and
So
jeers.
proud.
A bunch of Republicans are actually mad about this too. They're saying that it's a mistake in the 11th hour to bring out an insult comic at the biggest political rally to close out your campaign by insulting everyone. It's gonna get weaponized.
I mean, I don't know. What were
That's
you
a tough. I mean, he does the roasts. It strikes me as a roast comic. Is that the appropriate place for roast
roaster.
comic? I don't know. It's unconventional, right?
Do you think it was a mistake to have this guy at a political rally?
It's a tough call.
Tony, I mean, geez, it is. He's like the hardest core, not hardcore comedian.
I think this was Barron.
Barron was like, you got to get Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yep. Barron, so we've been saying for a long time, like, Trump needs to go on Kill Tony, but that's different. That's Trump ragging on people, too. That's him sitting around with a bunch of guys and everyone's making jokes. I think what happens is they're like, okay, well, we don't got time. It's the campaign. Barron probably said, Kill Tony is huge. Theo Von, Joe Rogan, you got to do these shows. And so they said, let's get Tony Hinchcliffe to do comedy at Madison Square Garden. And I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny. I heard this before the backlash, and I just laughed.
And after that, he's like, oh, okay, you're getting it now. I'm not used to following the national anthem.
Right.
And it's like, it's Tony, I'm doing his Tony. Maybe it was a, I don't know if you call it a mistake, but maybe it's like you don't have a roast insult comic right before the most heated political
Yeah, I guess
election in
the
history.
argument is, if it costs Trump even a single vote, was it worth it?
And like Trump can't get any more famous, so like drawing eyeballs isn't.
But I don't think it hurt him or help him. I mean, remember in 2016 how saying, as Joe Rogan pointed out, saying all that crazy shit kind of actually helped him because it made him more authentic. So I don't think it helps him lose a vote or gain a vote. I think it keeps
It's
it neutral.
both. I kind of feel like anybody who's planning on voting for Trump because World War III is about to start or because they can't afford grocery bills is not going to be swayed by an opening comic making an off-color joke.
Correct.
But more importantly, is the joke funny?
It's an insult.
thought
It's a roast joke. Are these roast things funny? I don't.
If it's funny, that means it has a seed of truth in it.
Well,
So
have you seen this guy roast Kim Kardashian? I'm not even going to say it on the air what he said, but have you seen what he said at these
What did he
roasts?
say?
I'm not saying it.
I saw him do Tom Brady really
You can
hard.
play it. Yeah, you can play it.
I don't know that it's that necessarily so much that it has to have a seed of truth. I think it was a subversion of expectation, right? There's a lot going on, and you think he's talking about the Pacific garbage patch, and then he says Puerto Rico, and that's more like ribbing on your buddy.
Yeah.
Like if I say Ian's like a crazy hippie, it's like an exaggeration of what Ian actually is or whatever to whatever degree. Like if we mention Ian's doing DMT or whatever, Ian actually doesn't do DMT. He just looks like it.
I have done DMT.
So it's not that it's
glorious, by
it's
the
not that it's true to say like Ian snorts graphene.
It's not
right?
true.
It's just true that Ian likes it, and so we're making fun of him by hyper exaggerating what it is that he does.
You don't want to breathe that stuff in, though.
No, you don't.
But the thing is, Puerto Rico wasn't in the room to defend himself. So
who is this Puerto Rican Trump supporter in the crowd who's like, that's it, I'm throwing down my MAGA hat, I'm done?
I don't. They're still going to vote for Trump.
That's not a person that exists.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to play this clip of him roasting if it's a little obscene? This is the other roast. I just texted it to you.
What is it? Let me.
It's if liberals can't handle a little comedy from a comedian, this will surely melt their minds. And it's him at this roast. It's a minute and a half long. I watched it. It's a roast comedy, I don't.
Well, maybe if we don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's a little.
Considering we're a week out from the
Yeah,
election.
yeah. It's a
let's
little
save it for
raunchy.
Well, then we'll save it for the members only.
Yeah.
After you sing "Plush" by Stone Temple
good.
Pilots.
Oh, that sounds hot.
Sounds good.
I'm not kidding. He's gonna sing.
I'm gonna sing.
Yeah, we played it before the show. I got it on lock on the guitar.
The let me pull up the Poly Market actually. So Poly Market is the closest you can get to real time sentiment or predictions, and Trump's at 66% to win. I don't think anyone cares. And look, no disrespect to Tony Hinchcliffe. I don't think anyone cares. They're desperately trying to make this an issue to care about. And what I'm seeing is like the Krasensteins, of course. They were like, "Oh, I can't believe he would make this joke." And I'm like, "Bro, are you kidding?" And then one of them responded, "What would I say if Kamala Harris had a comic who came out and said something shocking and off-putting? I don't know. How about this?"
Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall, and George Lopez said, "You better build it in one day, because if you leave that material out there overnight..."
What's going to happen, George?
That's
What's going to happen? What happens if you leave your material right on the Mexican border?
Right.
What's the implication there,
Are
George?
you implying it's going to
So-
be stolen?
This is a Harris Waltz rally in Arizona. And yes, literally the joke is that Mexicans will steal your stuff. I don't care. It's
Oh, that was a good joke.
Cancel
I know.
that white lady in the back who's laughing.
oh wait, whoa, there's a white lady laughing. There's
Cancel
two
her.
of them.
Two, no, three.
You can
white
hand it.
Cancel them now.
And look at she's covering her face because she knows she's going to get canceled for laughing. This is it. The View goes on this extended tirade where they're freaking out, and Sonny Hostin is like, "This Puerto Rican Donald Trump believes that Puerto Rico is beautiful," and it's like Trump didn't even say it. The Trump campaign said the joke does not represent their campaign or whatever, and I think you know what, man. Maybe the appropriate response from the Trump campaign would have been to just respond by saying, and I quote,
Donald Trump said he was going to build a wall, and George Lopez said, "You better build it in one day, because if you leave that material out there overnight..."
that's just should have been the exact response with the quote and the video and been like, here you go. So they're acting like they're mad at Trump. It's just fake. It's all fake.
Yeah, it's all fake, and people want authenticity, and they're reading between the lines, and that's why Trump's doing so well, just like he did in 2016.
But you have Republicans coming out being like, "Oh, I can't believe that was crazy."
Because I think those Republicans crave to be liked by the powers that be. It's an opportunity to get your name in the New York Times, and it's an incentive for you to be, get a little dig in on your friends.
I imagine, too, these Republicans don't dance.
Definitely they don't
biggest
dance.
States. You got to loosen
Why
up.
are you dancing? Why are you singing? Stick to politics.
You had a guy say that to you?
That's my voice for women and critics. I don't know.
Who are these people that hate your music career?
I think a lot of people don't like that I sing and dance. I did this musical Oklahoma, and people were just viciously attacked. Be serious. People really understand journalism is an art. Like, I don't think you could be a very good storyteller without having a kind of a rhythm and a sense of music and timing and cadence and all these things. So we need more dancing and singing, in my opinion, in politics. But you don't see that very often.
I think that's 100%. That's, God willing, what I've been doing on this show for 4 years, just lightening it up a little bit, because it's so easy to get angry and forget. Like, I think a lot of cultures have said that the canaries in the coal mine when it comes to the political violence in the political realm is the comedians. Like, if the comedians start to get demonized, you're in a world of hurt. You're in a real
We're there.
bad place.
We've been there for a long time.
You can see people trying to do it. They tried to demonize Rogan with the whole horse paste stuff, CNN, and he kind of just like water off a duck's back, kept moving forward because he's a strong man, and you need people to be able to weather this stuff and not like self-cancel and be like, I'm sorry, I won't make jokes anymore. So this is kind of a moment for Tony where, and all the people around Tony are like, what are we going to do? I think he's insulated in a safe and strong enough position where he can keep doing what he does and not take it personally.
AOC was on a stream with Tim Waltz, and I'll just play a little bit of it for you because no one really wants to hear them talk for a long time. Let's try and get it to play.
We're getting there. No,
Did it freeze
Who
again?
is that jackwad? Who is that guy?
I actually think that's Tony Hinchcliffe, which is super disappointing. I mean, I don't, he's a comedian.
What's disappointing about it?
probably loves
Everybody knows what Tony does. That's why he was invited to do comedy here. What is she disappointed about?
I don't
Yeah, but
follow
look,
this
Trump,
like
This
crew
issue
very
with Puerto
closely,
Rico
but-
again. I saw it. This was when he went down after Helene, the horrific hurricane. People that Rico,
Dude.
it was absolutely horrific. Down there insulting people, throwing it. Look, I know that the folks who are on here today understand this. People in Puerto Rico are citizens. They pay taxes and they serve in the military at almost a higher rate than anybody else.
Yeah. I mean, it's like super upsetting. Obviously, it's super upsetting to me. My family is from Puerto Rico. I'm Puerto Rican. And like the thing.
You see, here's the point I want to make by showing this. She knows she's in a difficult position to communicate to young people why you can't have fun and make jokes.
Yeah, there's an element of artifice in politics, and we turn the channel and watch a raunchy show, and it's acceptable. So that's the thing. There's a lack of equilibrium between these different platforms. That's why I don't think this stuff really matters. I think that people are they just can't pay for groceries, and
Right.
it's all just
But I think beyond that, if you're 18 or 19 and you're not even necessarily in the workforce yet, maybe you're still in school, you're listening to Rogan and you're laughing. You're goofing off. These like young guys are going out and they're whacking each other in the balls and then laughing about it. They're taking their towels and then whipping each other and goofing. And she's going like, oh, it's really disappointing and so upsetting to hear this. But I feel like the reason she's not doing the heavy outrage like The View is doing is because she knows she's supposed to be Democrats communicating to younger people who are going to respond with, are you really mad about this, AOC?
Do you think she actually believes what she's saying?
No, absolutely not.
That's the problem. It's a lack of authenticity.
She has to mix, I'm a Democrat, so I have to be mad, with I'm also a young person and I'm supposed to be edgy. And that's why she's like, it's upsetting. Yeah.
Yeah, because she probably loves Tony. I get the vibe that she thinks he's hilarious as a comedian, and now she's like, oh, I gotta crap on this guy. It's Hinchcliffe.
He sold out Madison Square Garden twice, and she's gonna rag on him.
And these guys,
she's screwed in New York.
In this same interview, they're talking about how, did you hear there's an Ebola outbreak after Trump worked at McDonald's? Oh yeah, he got Ebola on his hands, like joking about offensive stuff. That's not true, and they were joking, and that's okay to do. Yeah, in the same interview with these two dudes or
This
stream,
is on
I guess.
Twitch too, right?
I don't know.
AOC has a Twitch channel. Like, this is the world
Yeah.
we live in.
And she's
That's her
streaming with
outreach to
Tim
the
Waltz.
youths.
And then Tim Waltz said something about how she can run a mean pick six, and all of these football fans got really mad because they were like, that doesn't mean anything. But I don't know anything about football, so I can't fact check it.
Pick
I don't
six?
either.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Is
Yeah,
that not a basketball
The
term?
Mountain Dew next to him, the picture of him about to do the stream, it was just like, yuck.
Oh, that was so gross. What's he
You're
drinking that stuff for? And he's all
right.
I
gray.
mean, the having the like gaming controller. Okay, fine, I get it. This is a Twitch stream, but the Mountain Dew next to him, it was just like you jumped the shark with that. one.
So here we go. We've got this tweet from Mary L. Trump, and it wasn't just her, it was MSNBC actually played footage from the 1939 Nazi rally at Madison Square Garden. She says, so we're really doing this again, eyes wide open. And it's just Trump's rally in New York. These are New Yorkers. These are people who are overwhelmingly, like, these people at this rally are probably moderates. And then she shows an image of the Nazi rally in 1939. We got this tweet from Aaron Rugenberg. He says, "This is a Nazi rally. They're Nazis. Good God. That should mean something." This is it, ladies and gentlemen. The October surprise has dropped. Trump is Hitler. I can't believe it.
Reductio ad Hitlerium. Is that what they call it? Compare everything, because Hitler is the only example of evil that the left has. So everything that's bad is Hitler. Yeah.
I never saw this coming. I can't believe that. If I knew Trump was Hitler, I wouldn't have been supporting him this whole time.
Right.
But, now we're here. And apparently, if you hold a political rally, it's a Nazi rally. The Democrats held a rally in 1992 and I think 78. I think they did it a lot, actually. Actually, they also had one in 1924 where they were trying to figure out whether to approve of the Ku Klux Klan. So, this is modern politics for you, I guess. I suppose it's indicative of Trump winning if they've got nothing to go after him on.
I think they're freaking out.
Yeah?
I think they're freaking out. Yeah. I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago, but I usually say it's 50-50 odds, but I think they're freaking out. And all this stuff helps them, But there's like I said, there's a lack of artifice in politics. And people want sincerity, and they're tired of the BS. That's just the way the American people are right now. So all these tactics are probably going to help them, I would think.
Do you think so? In the past couple of weeks, we've seen Trump. He's now winning nationally. He's up by like 0.1. So it's margin of error territory, but he does have the lead at the national polls. And there's now some speculating that he could win the popular vote and the Electoral College. I wonder, why do you think that is? I mean, the number one issues right now are economics and immigration. You just did this film exploring the issue.
Yes.
I'm wondering if you think it kind of feels like when Kamala did this press tour and she couldn't speak and then just called Trump Hitler over and over again, that's when things started to shift. But I'm wondering if people ever actually thought Kamala could deal with a border crisis or an economic crisis at all.
Yeah, I mean, the film, we approached it from a humanitarian crisis. That's how I approached it. So a lot of times the left says close the borders is anti-immigrant, but we approached it, these people are being taken advantage of, which kind of inverted the whole thing on its head. And everyone seemed to be making money off of it too. It was the corruption that we exposed in the film. Everyone's making money off this crisis.
Yeah, that's crazy. Those two guys who were like, I got a good job,
everyone's
$20 an hour.
Everyone's getting paid off. So that's not really a left or right thing. That's just a corrupt thing. And are you pro-corruption or are you anti-corruption? That's how it's framed.
Yeah, but everybody these days are not everybody, but a lot of people are pro-corruption.
I don't think people even see it that way. So first you have to describe the problem precisely. You got 300,000 missing kids. A lot of those kids get trafficked or raped or put with sponsors. We don't know where the children are. And in the film, you actually see these little girls all alone in the desert. It becomes very real, very real, very fast. And it's emotionally overwhelming to people. So I don't think that's a right wing or left wing. I think that's just, do you want to save these kids? Do you want to stop the humanitarian crisis? And put that way, you gotta reform it. You can't have open borders.
Yeah. But
were you saying girls are getting put alone in the desert?
Yeah. So in this film, Line in the Sand, it's a real unscripted documentary, and we actually see little girls all alone wandering around. The real people that we encountered at the border wall without parents, and they're drugged. And they're put in these homes with what they're calling sponsors. But unlike the foster care system, they don't vet who the sponsor is in the United States. So there's a lot of trafficking of people. And this is as a result of this open border situation. So people don't realize that. And the film, there's a few moments in the film that people were crying. Pretty wild.
Yeah, I feel like this is largely why we see, I suppose, in more in depth, the Trump popularity or the MAGA movement or whatever. I see it as corruption, and at the root of it, going outside of economics and immigration. There's a part in the film where there are these two border guards. They're border guards, right? These two guys. They're talking about how much money they make.
Yes.
They're like $28.50. Is that what it was? $28.50.
Yes, exactly.
And they're like, this problem's not going away. We're getting paid.
Yeah.
And you basically, there's another scene where there's a woman driving a bus, and she's just like, I'm doing what my job is.
I'm just doing my job.
But they say it in a way where you can hear the actual translation of, I know I am doing something wrong.
So this is a really fascinating, it's a biblical, and it's a tale as old as time, but at what point does being weak make you evil? And throughout this film, all these people, police officers, Border Patrol agents are literally facilitating the trafficking of the people. They don't do any law enforcement, the Border Patrol. The cartel says we're sending 1,000 people over. The Border Patrol says, okay, we'll process them. So a lot of these Border Patrol agents have become alcoholics, suicidal. And at the end of the film, we meet this Border Patrol agent who's heroic, and he blows the whistle. His name is Zachary. And he's crying. He's in his patrol vehicle. This is like the ending of the film. But, Tim, it's remarkable to see all these people saying, if we stop the border crisis, then I can't feed my family because I don't have a paycheck. Now, that's wild. That's like saying, I need to facilitate the child trafficking so that I can feed my children.
I feel like this is not just within immigration crisis, but everything across the country. And I think we're getting to the point where people are just saying, we can't live like this. We need people of honor who are going to say, you know, I look at this much like bribery. So I heard a story from Kim.com. He told a funny story about how he was driving through Russia, and you get pulled over, and it's like the bribes are expected, or some. He was basically saying that you get pulled over, the cops, they don't care about what's just or what's not. You give them a bribe. Have you guys been watching Penguin? Have you seen Penguin?
No.
Oh, you're not watching Penguin? You're pop culture.
The movie
crisis.
or the show?
The show.
I didn't know there was a show.
It's really good. It's on Max, and there's a scene where this dude's got money. A cop stops him, and the cop says, "That's a lot of money for a young person." And the kid goes, "I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any money." And the cop goes, "Oh, you're right," and then keeps the money. This is when you have people who are just like, "I got to feed my family and I don't care." That's when they're willing to take bribes. They know they're doing something wrong, and we are 1 degree above bribery becoming a normal thing in this country. I think regular people are sick of it. They're sick of seeing border agents like Dr. Phil endorse Donald Trump. He talked on The View about how children are being sex trafficked and Border Patrol is facilitating it, and they know it. Like, that is a degree of corruption that I did not believe was possible.
I don't know if you can pull up this clip of Apotheker, Tim.
How do I find it?
I'm going to text it to you right now, actually. He's crying in his patrol vehicle, and it's deeply moving. But this is...
You sent it to me on Twitter?
Which is your preference? Text you?
X, because I can pull it on the computer.
Okay, very good. We'll keep talking while I pull it up. But this is this evil of this is this aspect of line in the sand. Where do you draw the line? Because most people's, I say my price is my life, and I mean that. You have to kill me to stop me. But Tim, most people's price is actually their children's life. People will do anything to protect their family, rightfully so. Rightfully
Even
so.
Sacrificing other innocent children.
But then the question is, and throughout history, what would happen is, especially in the Soviet Union, you and I've talked about this, is that people will do anything to protect their children. But what happens when you have to do evil things to feed your family? So it's this really interesting kind of biblical kind of thing that we explore in the film. And you meet so many weak people, so many people in this movie. I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. And until you meet someone who is not weak. What's your @ on the X? Is it Timcast? Okay. I'm going to text this to you right now.
Michael Malice said that there is no law.
It's in your DM.
What is the quote from Michael Malice? Something like, there is no law so depraved that a police officer would not follow it, up to and including the execution of children.
Yeah, something like that.
And a lot of people immediately say a cop would never do that. You don't understand. And no, I think a lot of people don't understand what Michael is saying. He's not saying that your average cop will just go murder a kid for no reason. He's saying under the appropriate pressures, people will do evil things for them, for their families, for their children. And
that's a very interesting theme. It's in your DM. If you could just pull it up.
I'm getting it right here.
Zachary Apotheker. He's a Border Patrol agent on the Canadian border. People don't realize. If you could go ahead and reset that.
Instagram's never good with videos.
Correct.
There was a slider bar.
One thing. When a girl like Lincoln Riley's jogging down in Georgia, yeah. When a girl like Lincoln Riley's, fuck, dude. No, okay,
just keep going.
When a girl like Lincoln Riley is jogging, she's top of her class at nursing, and we sign those fucking files, man. That's blood on our hands. That's blood on your hands. And that's a joke, maybe, to you just keep collecting that check. But let me ask you this. If it was your mother or your sister or your aunt, how would you feel? Every single agent knows deep in his heart what's going on is wrong. Children getting trafficked every day. We don't take their biographical info. We're very busy up here. We're overran with children we can't keep track of. Where are those children going? We don't know. We can have plausible deniability. If you can sleep at night with plausible deniability, it sickens me to my core.
Okay, so that was, you never see a federal agent in uniform. That's very rare. He's been disciplined as a result of saying those things to me. But there you have a man. That's the archetype of an individual who has drawn his line in the sand and said, I cannot live with myself. I am willing to lose my pension because I care more about the truth, my conscience, than my $130,000 a year salary. And those are the types of people that fascinate me.
Yeah.
Why would he be disciplined for saying those things to you? What rule did he break?
Because we live in a corrupt and broken world. None of the other agents in the film were disciplined for speaking to me. So because he told the truth, that's why he was disciplined. And to tell the truth in times of universal deceit is a revolutionary act, to quote George Orwell.
So there are people who, like in this film, you have this woman driving a bus, this older lady, and she's like, I'm just doing what my job is. You know, she knows what she's doing is wrong.
You could see it in her face.
Absolutely. And these border guards who are like, well, we're getting paid. We get $28 an hour. This is never going to stop. These people are thinking, look, man, keep your head down, shut up, take the paycheck, and watch the world burn. When you get to a point where the majority of people in your society feel this way, this is the end for your nation, for your society, for your culture, whatever it may be. You need a greater majority of people who are willing to sacrifice for the greater good than you have people who are willing to exploit and rip it apart.
Let me say two things about that. Number one, people think it's about something more than money. Now, that may be true, but what I found is it's almost always about money. Now, I was not expecting that going into the field of the desert and the Border Patrol crisis. Just like in Europe, labor is looking for more migrant hotels. Very important to understand that the asylum industry is a big business. A lot of people in Europe are making fat profits. In the United States, Health and Human Services gives like $1 trillion, like billions of dollars to companies that house little children. So if they stop the flow of the kids, they take away the big money salaries. So that was actually a little surprising to me. And in the film, Tim's talking about this moment when these two security guards are like, well, they can't shut this down because then we can't feed our family. So I don't know if Elon's going to come in or someone's going to come in and reform this whole thing, but you have to put a lot of people out of a job.
He said something like that. He said it's going to get hard for some people. Trump's going to fire a lot of people.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It takes a tremendous amount of balls to do that.
Well, let's jump to the story from KATU. Hundreds of ballots possibly burned after Vancouver ballot box arson, FBI investigating. The scary thing here is why. Now, the Post-Millennial adds also in Portland, Vancouver and Portland. They say ballot boxes in Portland, Oregon and Vancouver, Washington were set ablaze in the early hours of Monday morning. The Portland ballot box located in the 1000 block of Southeast Morrison Street, with officers responding to reports of the fire at around 3:30 a.m. Monday. By the time officers arrived, security personnel working in the area had extinguished the fire. They sent a press release. Officers determined that an incendiary device had been placed inside the ballot box to set the fire. The Bureau's explosive disposal unit cleared the device. The status of the ballot box inside is currently unknown. At around 6 a.m., police responded to the area of Fisher's Landing Transit Center in Vancouver for a separate burning ballot box. According to KATU2, first responders released a pile of burning ballots onto the ground from the box, which continued to smolder. So we don't know how many ballots are now destroyed, how many people's votes are now disqualified. The scary thing about this is shadow campaign. I don't know what it means. I don't know what we should or could expect in the next week. Did we get stories like this in 2020?
No, not burning ballots.
No.
Yeah, this is crazy, right?
No.
And so this is not even the first. There was an Arizona mailbox that was set on fire, and 20 or so ballots that were inside it were destroyed. There was another story that apparently was fake news. Apparently it was manipulation. And there's concern that this is an attempt to stop Republicans from voting early, to scare them, make them think that if they vote early, their ballot could be destroyed. I don't know. I think there's also a possibility it gives Democrats plausible claim that if Democrats lose, they're going to say, but how many ballots were destroyed by, MAGA extremists or something they might make up. We don't know who did this, left, right, or otherwise. These are in deep blue areas. Why destroy these ballots?
You double switch. It could be someone didn't want the Portland ballots to get counted. It could be someone wants it to look like the opponent of the Portland voters wants their ballots to get destroyed.
Or it could be some force, foreign or domestic, who's trying to sow chaos within an election.
It's domestic terrorism. This is legit domestic terrorism where you unleash like Homeland Security and find out.
There's a heightened awareness this time around, Tim. I mean, I'm at OMG. We have 200 poll workers that want to film, and it just wasn't the case a few years ago. I mean, I put out a hey, if you want to film, send me a message. We got like 600 emails from poll workers and election judges. When more is at stake in an election, more people are going to do illegal things. This is a felony, obviously. You're going to have people. You had 2 assassination attempts, or 3 assassination attempts on a president. So you're just going to have there's so much scrutiny on this election that if someone is doing something improper, it's going to be recorded. You're going to know about it.
What happens next? You know, there have been 2 legitimate attempts on the life of Donald Trump, 1 plot. We now have ballots being destroyed. I am very concerned about what comes November 5th.
Well, we have 200 people with cameras recording, and if there's some impropriety, we'll find out. If it's close, we'll find out.
What's your bigger concern in this? Chaos and violence, or just people here and there trying to cheat by like discarding a vote or counting it wrong, or what do you think is going to happen?
The predict the future question.
Don't predict the future, but
the country
what
is
is your
so
concern?
divided that the country is so. It's a bigger issue. The country is so divided. I'm not sure how we govern. If for whatever reason Trump were to lose, how does the other side deal with all of Trump's supporters? Like, for example, Elon says they're going to, maybe he's joking. Oh, they're going to put me in jail. I joke. Kamala's going to put me in jail. Are they really going to try to put all these people in jail for political reasons? Is that going to sit? Okay, but then there are going to be some people on the extreme who unfortunately will probably rebel against that. That's unjust. That's wrong. So that's a setup for a civil war. And I don't think the Democrats can I don't believe in that. I don't believe in violence. I don't believe in, any type of, illegal behavior, but my concern is the country is so divided. But it does seem, Tim, in the last week or two, maybe I'm reading the room wrong, but that a lot of people are unifying behind Trump. That's my sense of it. So maybe he wins in a landslide.
Well, I don't know if I'd say he wins in a landslide, but right now the data suggests that he gets a marginally decent victory in the popular vote and the Electoral College. And we need this. I'm going to say it again. I've been screeching this for the past 2 weeks now. Go vote. Listen, if you live in California, we need you to vote even more than anybody else. Trump winning swing states, it looks like he's going to win the swing states. Great. If you live in a swing state, go vote. But now more than ever, especially the people who live in deep blue and deep red states need to vote because we got too much apathy. In California, you got 10 million Republicans, and about half of the Republicans go, hey, it's a blue state anyway. I'm not going to vote. Who cares? What's the point? If you vote and Trump wins the popular vote, it sends a message to the far left insane ideology that we, the American people, say no. But if Trump wins the Electoral College and loses the popular vote, they're going to claim they have popular mandate, that Donald Trump is a usurper who is ineligible to be president, and then it will be absolute chaos. Now, I'm not saying it won't be chaos if Trump wins both, because who knows what they're going to do. I'm just saying let's have the moral high ground and get everybody to go vote. And I'll tell you this, even in red states, if you're in a red state, you're going to go, he's going to win here anyway. What's the point of me voting? So that Trump wins by 10 million votes. And you say, look at that, we win. In Charlestown, the line for early voting was massive, stretching all the way down. How far did it go? Blocks? Couple blocks? Crazy. That's good news. That's
I just think that if there is a conspiracy, if there is some type of illegal destruction of ballots, I think this time we're going to know about it. I think someone out there is going to record it. Someone's going to blow the whistle on it. It's not possible for them to get, that's what I believe.
Yeah, but we're not talking about a conspiracy. We're talking about a standalone complex. Mm-hmm. If 10,000 run-of-the-mill regular Democrats who are working voting locations in various states, it could be as simple as one guy of his own volition being like, I can't let Hitler win. And so he says, Trump must be no good, throws in the garbage. Kamala. That's Kamala. You know what I mean?
I see. You're saying no one was there to witness that.
Well, so the issue with 2020 was that a lot of the instances that people were saying was, hey, look, this person is doing something weird with ballot counting. You don't need a conspiracy for this. When Kamala comes out and says Trump is Hitler, do not let him win, That is the conspiracy right there. I mean, not literal conspiracy. That is the instruction. If you are working polling locations and voting centers, what she is basically telling you is that you have to do whatever you can to stop Trump. So what happens if 10,000, what happens if 1,000 people in swing states just take it upon themselves to do something illegal? Who's going to be tracking John Doe? Just some random guy. He's 36. He got a job at a polling location. Nobody knows or cares who he is. He has no authority whatsoever. And then he's just going, what does that say? Does that say Trump? I can't read it. Throws it in the garbage. And then you do that a couple times, and then you end up shifting how many votes for Trump in a swing district.
If one person gets caught on tape doing that, man, that'll just send a shockwave through.
Yes.
I hear you. Yeah.
But we already had in 2020 the woman who ran the ballots through multiple times.
Yeah.
And that was never adjudicated. The question was, did they properly get counted? And so, so the question was, is she rescanning the same ballots because they're not serialized at incrementing more votes for Kamala, or were they just rejected from the scanner and she had to re-put them back in? We don't know. All the Trump supporters are going to claim she's tripling Kamala votes by doing that because just run them through over and over and over again. It adds to the count. We don't know. If an individual does something nefarious or malicious to shift ballots in either direction, who cares? If someone catches that person, the judge is going to say, 50 votes won't change an election. The concern then is when 10,000 Democrats do something like that.
Well, we'll be recording if they do. That's all I can say.
Yeah. We're still kind of in a heavily insecured voting strata, unfortunately, where we rely on pieces of paper. And I've talked about this all last week.
And that's the way it should be.
Well, except when they get lit on fire and there's no backup. That's a big problem.
That's the problem of early voting. And there should not be early voting month. Constitution says Congress provides, and Congress provides a single day for the election. And they've all started subverting the rules so they can put ballot boxes in insecure locations.
Also, when a girl's running the same piece of paper through a machine multiple times, if that happens, that's
why paper
possible.
Ballots. You're right, Ian. You are correct. We should not be using the machines. They should be hand-counted paper ballots like almost every other country does. And they can get counted in a decentralized manner at the local level where 3 people are looking at each count, putting it in a box, locking it, and saying, we all agree this was the number.
If you can do that,
and that's how we've always done it.
Look at every ballot. Like, what about the guy who's like, I can't read that, and he throws it away?
That's why you have 2 other people. Because then they go, what do you mean? It says Trump.
So you need 3 people for every ballot. I mean, what do they do? People actually do that?
3 people, not for every ballot. 3 people for every jurisdiction. And they did this in Arizona.
Together?
They did it in Arizona.
You
yes,
gotta
they
hope
did.
that they're not colluding.
Well, there's only so much you can do. A machine's not going to actually be able to track political biases. So you have a Democrat or Republican and a nonpartisan, and they'll all look at it and they'll all agree that's a Trump vote. That's a Kamala vote. That's a Trump vote. That's a Kamala vote. They get put in a box. The number gets written down. They all sign it. It gets sealed with tamper-evident tape 3 times. And they say, here's our number. We report it.
That is ideal.
Every jurisdiction does that. And in a decentralized way, all the data gets fed to a centralized location. And you have a near perfect decentralized count of the vote.
Then you got to guarantee that it's a Trump voter, a Kamala voter, and an independent person. And they'll just be like,
it's very easy. That's called registration.
Yeah, I'll vote. Dude, you know how many people would register for the opposite things to go screw something? Like, people become nefarious. Open source code is not nefarious.
Making an argument that you can't perfectly secure a system is not an argument.
No, I'm not talking about
system.
Perfectly securing anything.
Right, so
I'm
this
talking
is
about
called
making
good
less insecure. Like, we're very reliant on people's goodwill right now in this system, and that is...
Which is why you do 3 people.
And then it's very reliant on those 3 people's goodwill, and that is... I don't trust humans. Why would you ever?
I don't trust computer code I can't see.
Well, you just have to see the code.
You're
I don't
right.
trust code I can't see either. That's why the Dominion system's busted.
And here's the problem. I can't read code either. I can't read code, so
then you should learn how to read the code and check it.
That's not my
responsibility. Or you can be willfully ignorant. But there are people that can read the code.
Then you know what I think? We should do voting based on Magic the Gathering cards. That'll be the verification system because I'm an expert in that. Other people should have to learn how to play.
I don't understand that, Tim.
I should be able to use an encryption system only I know, and you have to learn.
Well, if it's what kind of argument is that?
Arguing that
arguing a system that only one guy understands. It's an open source coded system where you can read the code online on GitHub.
Arguing that a plumber has to learn how to code so that he can understand the election system is ridiculous.
Hey, man. It's better than not having any access to it.
right? So we should have paper ballots, hand counted, 3 people. That's called securing a system.
It's not secured. It's you
Nothing's
still rely.
secured.
It's more secured to have some sort of backup.
James, what say you?
I mean, I approach this a little differently. I released a video in Maricopa County, Tim, last week, went viral, just to let them know that I'm there, because I believe this recording thing works, and because it deters fraud. People are afraid. I've been on the show before, and people are afraid of they're going to be shamed out of committing fraud for fear of them being caught committing fraud. Because your point is, what if, I think you said 10,000 people do it autonomously? Is that what your point?
Yep.
But even in their minds, they might be afraid. They're going to look to the left, they're going to look to the right? Most of the time, you're not alone in these rooms. You're in gymnasiums, you're in schools. I think they would be afraid of getting caught. And my message to everyone is that I'm not exaggerating. We have hundreds of people that are going to have hidden cameras. So maybe that's going to deter them. To your point, some might not get caught, but some will get caught.
Agreed.
And this Maricopa County people, I said before the show, they're attacking me for recording them. The Maricopa County election trainer has deleted her LinkedIn after OMG's Maricopa election training expose.
Let's pull this up real quick, actually. So I have this tweet from James O'Keefe himself. Maricopa County election trainer Amy Bricker deletes her LinkedIn after OMG's Maricopa election training expose. Can you explain what this expose was and what happened?
It wasn't even a big, massive bombshell of them doing anything really wrong. If you scroll through some of the rest of the tweets, you'll see the video. This was a video from a Maricopa County training, and this is like one of the most contentious counties in the country. And the worker was saying, quote, "It's not our job to police ballot harvesting." Quote, "We're not any type of law enforcement agency." This is Amy Bricker. Now, Tim, I'm not sure she's incorrect about that. The legislature of Arizona, this is kind of in the weeds here, has made a law that says, no, we can't, the trainers don't police that. If you're angry, be upset at the legislature, not the trainer who's following the law. I didn't release this video because she did something wrong. I released this video to let them know that I'm in there.
We'll just play the intro of your video?
It's not Watergate.
Question about drop-off ballots. Are we allowed to say anything? Because it is a felony for people to turn in ballots outside their home.
No.
Just 2 weeks away from the presidential election, we are inside recording the trainings. We take you inside Maricopa County, Arizona, where election trainings are now in full swing. Meet Amy Bricker. She's an election trainer from Maricopa County. She says if poll workers spot ballot harvesting activity, it is not their job to police that illegal activity. Check this out.
As a poll worker, it's not your responsibility to police that. We're not any type of law enforcement.
During yet another election poll watching training session at Maricopa County's election office, another citizen journalist discovered that federal agents from the DOJ will be inside those election centers. Again, all of this recorded by volunteers, citizen journalists, and poll watchers there in Arizona.
What would be some reasons why the Department of Justice would need to show up at your poll center?
They could be following up on a lawsuit or just coming to monitor things for this election.
So that's a little taste.
So who are these people? How do they get these jobs to train others on these elections?
That's a good question. Who are these election trainers? I don't know.
And so was she saying when it comes to someone who may be ballot harvesting, don't police them?
Correct.
She's saying, is she saying not to report it?
It's not our job to police that. So what she means as Bricker's response, quote, "As long as the ballot is signed and dated, we don't get involved. If it's signed by the owners," is direct quotes from the rest of the video. "If it's signed by the owners, it's valid," raising questions. But the legislature of Arizona, the law, that's the law. So she's following the law. So people are angry at her, by the way, which I don't support. This poor girl's getting death threats.
Jeez.
Unfortunately, and I'm against that. They should be upset at the legislator. But remember, ballot harvesting means you're delivering a bunch of other people's ballots. But it could be your sister, brother, grandfather, etc. That's legal. What's not legal is to fill out multiple ballots.
Right. I think actually most states allow some form of secondary ballot drop-off to varying degrees. So that could include ballot harvesting. And there's only a small amount of states that actually explicitly forbid it.
Correct. And if you could look at these, I don't know if you can pull down the responses from the clerks or the head of the county, Stephen Richter is his name. Congrats to the intrepid dance video journalist who secretly. Why do they always have to? Can we just talk about this? What does dancing have to do with this? Why do they hate?
It's like they call James alt-right, far right, and he's just like, well, you know,
So, and this is
then
kind
they
of
criticize your dancing.
This is kind of philosophically fascinating. Stay classy, O'Keefe. Well, I'm a reporter, and I quote people for a living. Now, here's the rest of this. James O'Keefe's history of cringe dance. This is the.
Is it a compilation of good dance moves?
I don't know what that links to. Oh, it's the Young Turks link. They're making fun of my dancing. Again, why are liberals making fun of dancing? I don't.
Well, here's an interesting thing.
This is like going viral on TikTok too, where people are like, "Guess who I just voted for?" They're doing the Trump dance.
Oh.
They hate the dancing.
The Trump dance is so good. It's like one of the best dances ever made. You know,
It's not a golf swing. Did you see?
This guy,
he had a golf swing.
The very end.
This guy Stephen Richter is a big deal. He's on like they had a front page New York Times profile on him. These are big top dogs. My point, Tim, is that, and I genuinely believe this. You can go through these weird responses, but this is Bill Gates. If you can scroll down on not this thread, but the next tweet down. Shame on you, James O'Keefe. If we can scroll down.
Oh, on your page.
Keep going, scrolling down. It's a shame. Bill Gates.
Not the Bill Gates, but other Bill Gates.
Apparently, they're
which one
right
is it?
there. Go down, up one.
This right here? No.
It's you may have to keep going. Shame on me. There it is. There
Shame
it is.
on me.
Bill Gates. Shame on you, James O'Keefe. Your bad faith. This is the Bill Gates, not Bill Gates Microsoft. There's another Bill Gates who works in Maricopa County elections. Shame on you, O'Keefe. Your bad faith undercover investigation endangers the safety of workers. Election workers are our friends, neighbors, and family members. They did nothing wrong. They deserve our respect. Again, I'm a reporter, and my job is to report. It's interesting that newspapers can quote people, but when you video quote them, somehow it puts them in danger. I mean, I guess I understand that on some level in this highly divided world of ours when things have become so heightened. But I'm factually reporting what's happening, and I think all of this is meant to deter fraud. And what I hope what I know will happen in the next week, because I'm the leader of this effort, is we're just going to have 100 people provide recordings, Tim. And hopefully that deters the fraud that you speak of.
How do we make it bigger than several hundred and get 10,000 people who are legally set up to record and monitor?
Laws are very tricky on this, and I have to say
what is
that.
the legality?
I could pass the bar exam on this crap. I have posted to our website all the laws. It's only legal in so many states. It's very complicated. So you gotta check the OMG website. It's very complicated. You can't intimidate a voter. And the question is, will the Department of Justice view this? It's not, but will they pull an Orwellian thing and try to say that we're intimidating voters by recording?
It only matters if they win. So here's the issue. If you go to one of these polling locations completely under your legal rights and engage in monitoring or whatever it is legally, and Trump wins, no, you're good. But if you do that and then Kamala wins, you're going to get locked up.
Yeah, but are they going to lock up everybody? Are they really? Do you think they're going to do that?
They set up Capitol police offices around the country to go after people who are wandering around on January 6th and didn't even enter the building. There are people who showed up. So there's one story that I've talked about quite a bit. It was a woman who told me she was going to jail for 18 months, her and her husband, because they showed up to the Capitol hours after the Capitol was breached. They went on the side of the building. They were walking around where there was no broken glass and no violence. The doors had been propped open. They walked up, no barriers, no obstructions, walked in the building, looked around for about 2 minutes, walked out having no idea what went on, arrested, charged, sentenced to 18 months.
Let me do the ethical thing here, because we're broadcasting to a lot of people. This will take me 30 seconds. What not to do? Do not intimidate voters. If you're recording, do not intimidate. That means do not do anything aggressive or threatening around polling locations that can be viewed. Don't photograph ballots or people who are voting. Don't do that. Don't touch ballots. Don't pretend to be someone else. Don't interfere with the election. Be respectful and check your recording laws in the states. I posted this to my website. But Tim, I find it fascinating. You think that Kamala's just going to jail everyone or jail people like Elon and
a lot of people,
me and others, and
Elon. They're gonna come after him in
the government
crazy
agencies,
ways. And they're gonna damage his businesses and make life miserable.
But don't you think that there's so many Trump supporters that are just they're not going to put up with that?
I think that is the intended position.
No, to create a civil unrest.
Well, yeah, because I don't think anybody wants civil war at an official level. There's certainly people on the ground like Antifa and maybe some elements of the right that are like, yeah, bring it on, but that's ridiculous. I think what they're more looking for is if you've listened to what Steve Baker had to say about January 6th, he's the journalist who's been criminally charged. They shackled him, and he said, in his opinion, the Pentagon planned for J6 to go down the way it was, and if it wasn't for one officer, there may have been severe injuries to members of Congress and the Senate. One officer of his own volition without orders evacuated the building. He got in trouble later on for, something else. He said he was endangering officers. If he did not of his own volition evacuate, then the J6ers would have clashed with members of Congress. Steve Baker believes that was the intention, so that way they could say this was an insurrection. And if you think about it through that lens, everything they've done hunting down J6ers makes sense if a member of Congress was hurt in some way. But considering you have a bunch of nonviolent misdemeanor trespass, hunting people down and putting them in solitary confinement makes literally no sense. So I would say it's not that anybody wants a grand scale separatist movement or anything like that, but that they want to terrify people into sitting down and shutting up. They want to create an air of fear and terror among anyone who would oppose the uniparty machine, and then give themselves justification for going after the people who speak up and speak out.
That's going to create a threshold of moral outrage where it'll just be a pendulum swing.
It could, or it could create a Soviet or Chinese communist type era where the dissenters are just beaten down and suppressed and hidden.
I think my theory is that America might be different than all those previous examples throughout history. We're more cavalier, we're more cowboy, we're more the land of the free, the home of the brave. My theory, and I have to believe this, otherwise we're just, what's the point of existing? I have to believe that we're just built differently. So even if it were true, which I don't actually believe, but even if it were true that Kamala wins and all these regulatory agencies put people like me in jail. By the way, I've been to jail. I've been raided by the FBI, arrested by the FBI, sued 40 times, fired from the company I founded, and I can go on. But even if I were to take your premise, I think the people would just rise up. I don't mean that in a violent way. I just mean they would support the people who are in jail and donate to their lawyers. But go ahead.
This is it.
Yeah.
Trump winning may be that people finally breaking and saying, I've had enough of this. And now in Jefferson County, in West Virginia, the line for early voting is massive. And I don't believe the people in West Virginia are lining up in droves to vote for Kamala Harris. Look, you can argue that Kamala's got her base, for sure. I don't think anyone is that passionate about Kamala. The only argument would then be they actually believe Trump is Hitler and they're passionate against him.
Let me throw you another black swan here in your Ooh,
black swan.
Black swan means unpredicted, unknown thing, curveball. I have a whistleblower from FEMA that's going public Thursday. FEMA, the North Carolina situation. A full-time federal employee, Christian lady, who says, to hell with this, I'm blowing the whistle on the agency. And I'm noticing a pattern. You and I have been talking about this for years. But I'm noticing now, like, people have just had enough. They just, Zach, you saw the guy crying in the Border Patrol car.
Yeah.
And I just think you're gonna see more of those types of people rise up. And and notice you didn't see the movie, but in the movie, Zach makes a sign of the Christian cross. I say, aren't you afraid they're gonna take your pension? They're gonna destroy your life. He says, you're looking at it. Very powerful. He says, to hell with all of you. I am willing to die on my cross, so to speak, for the public's right to know. So this lady that coming out from FEMA Thursday, a few days before the election comes out, I mean, it's very powerful. And I think that you just need a few people with courage, and courage is in short supply these days. But that's another thing that could happen.
I was just thinking about it, and I think it's a simple equation. When the fear of what this country is becoming outweighs the fear of reprisal,
exactly,
you will get whistleblowers.
That's exactly right.
And I think we're starting to see this.
That's exactly right. And I have this new nonprofit that I'm paying Zach's legal bills, Citizen Journalism Foundation. It's very, very powerful to hear. I asked this lady, I said, aren't you afraid? And she said, no, I'm called to do this. And your point is well taken. Soviet Union. What are the other countries you mentioned that went through this hell, this dystopian? It's a pattern throughout history, right? where we just descend into compliance and conformity, and people are afraid to do the right thing. But this is America, damn it. This is different. We're built differently, right?
Yeah, local governance runs this show.
Yeah.
There's so many people that control their locality here.
Yeah, you just need someone to they're trying to, Tim, all those election officials in Maricopa are saying that stuff because they're trying to deter other people to do the same thing. That's their number one goal. Deter others. Zach took his gun away, took Zachary Apotheker. By the way, at some point, I'd love to call him in just 2 minutes on the show so everyone could hear his voice, the Border Patrol agent.
Yeah.
Took his gun away, took his paycheck, cut his paycheck, trying to make his life a living hell so they can deter other people from doing the same thing. That's,
I think more likely than you getting thrown in jail in the event that Kamala wins, due to the nature of the work you do, I think that big tech firms will just see a Kamala victory as license to crack down
That's
censorship.
interesting.
Yeah.
But Zuckerberg, what do you think his philosophy is?
They're so dumb for trusting me. He literally said that.
But he sounds like he's become more politically libertarian.
You see this story? Actually, you know what? Let's pull this story up. And we'll talk about this. We've got this from NPR. Over 200,000 subscribers flee Washington Post after Bezos blocks Harris endorsement. The Washington Post has proven itself to be of, for, and by the Democratic Party, masquerading as a news organization. Jeff Bezos decided, and he's not a stupid guy, we are not endorsing Kamala Harris. USA Today just announced they will not be making an endorsement either. LA Times announced this. Do you know why they're making these announcements? They know they're going to lose money, but they know what happens after this election when Trump wins. Trump is going to come out and he's going to be pissed off. He's going to be pissed off at these guys who all went against him, and they believe that Donald Trump is going to win.
Also, I think they legitimately don't support Kamala Harris. Like, Jeff Bezos does not support that regime. That I think Mike Benz was talking about this, or somebody was talking about it last week, that these guys trusted the deep state. They trusted the apparatus, Zuckerberg with Facebook, and then they did their bidding basically during the Biden administration and with the Hunter Biden laptop suppression of that story. And then their reward was more crackdown, more supporting the EU's law on digital censorship. And they're like, what? We thought that if we did what you told us to do and censor the people you want us to censor, that you'd give us our power back or like lighten up. And instead it just got worse. And they see that that's the path of following evil, is that more evil comes or more suppression. Following the path of suppression equals more suppression.
But so
you don't make a deal with the devil.
So my view with this, where is Mark Zuckerberg right now? That was the question. Well, he seems to be coming out acting like he's libertarian now and he's for Trump. No, he's looking at the data that he's got, and he's saying we cannot, as these institutions, suppress the American people anymore. Trump will win. And if we are on the wrong side of this, then the people will come with their torches and pitchforks. So Zuckerberg is now saying, oh yeah, Trump, so cool, so great. I'm out of here. He's building a house on a Hawaiian island with an emergency bunker and his own Wagyu cattle. That dude's preparing for the worst. A lot of these guys are.
Well, the Washington Post, the commercial imperative dictates that most of their audiences are Democrats, so they have to pick that side.
Yeah, but they're not now, because Washington Post refused to endorse. And the editorial staff wanted to. Bezos blocked them and said, you're not endorsing. And the reason why, in my opinion, is that Bezos is looking at his business he owns and the money he's going to lose. And he's thinking to himself, if we don't endorse a Democrat, I'm going to lose tons of money. However, if we endorse Kamala and Trump wins, he's going to come after Blue Origin. He's going to come after Amazon. He's going to come after all of us.
I see.
And Bezos, with this statement, is saying, it is a greater risk to go against Donald Trump than it is to just not endorse anybody. I think these billionaires are seeing the line. They're seeing what's coming. That is a Trump victory.
Honestly, if there is a defense mechanism against totalitarian government, it is the people themselves and their companies, their organizations. And multinational corporations are dangerously centered forces of power. Like Google has a lot of authority, but that also the people at Google could be a paragon against corruption because they help run our digital infrastructure and our communications. Like they could maintain against some sort of crazy government overreach.
Yeah, Ben Smith wrote that it was impossible timing for this announcement to be read as a statement of principle, which makes it even worse. It's like, if it wouldn't be one thing if he was doing it on principle, but it's obviously, to your point, obeying Trump in advance.
Yep.
Which is, I just, it's so political and so insincere. But I think that there's a greater issue, which is how do you solve the political divide in this country? And how do you avoid this situation? By the way, Zach's ready. I'll call him and when you're ready, if it's okay for me to put him on speaker.
maybe in like five minutes we'll wrap up this
The
story.
answer to your question, James, you jam. You rock so hard that the world has no choice but to listen.
I think
we're going to do that tonight.
I think you do it by, for one, this leftist ideology is not popular. It never has been. It only rules through fear. All of these comedians, like Howard Stern, spews racial slurs left and right, but then once the woke mob controls the institutions, he drops to his knees and he begs like a spineless little coward. He'll no longer make the jokes. Please, just don't hurt me. Oh, what a loser. Howard Stern, you're a loser. People like him, they are terrified of whoever is in control of the institution. And what we need to do is prove they don't. They don't control these institutions, and people don't care for this. There's a silent majority of people who reject the woke garbage. Bud Light made a huge point when they lost billions in market share, and they've never recovered. I thought they were going to see, I don't want to get too much into it. I thought they were going to see a sales normalization that they would capitalize. They didn't. They just keep spiraling. It's just worse. Even UFC and Joe Rogan couldn't save Bud Light. Disney lost $1 billion on their past 10 releases or whatever. And Kevin Feige had to go and fire everybody. The next move is a Donald Trump popular vote victory. Go vote. I don't care where you live. If you live in a red state or a blue state that are deep blue, not swing states, more than ever, you got to go vote. Because when Trump wins the popular vote by 10 million or whatever the number is, I'm not saying he does. I'm saying if he does, that's a message to all of these leftist institutions. You have lost the popular mandate. You never had it. And it's time to sit down and shut up and let regular people come back into the fold and we can fix this thing. That's how you unify the divide. You shut out the crazy people by proving once and for all, people don't like the crazy. Look, when I went and saw Marvel Avengers Endgame, it's a big deal. It's a 10-year culmination of a multi-billion-dollar franchise, one of the biggest movie franchises ever. When they did the scene where all the women are walking up and they're like, she's not alone, and all the women strut, the audience groaned. People didn't like it. Nobody hates women. It's just ham-fisted garbage. When they remade the movie The Craft, did you see that one?
When was that?
This was like 2 years ago. You got to watch it. You're going to laugh. You're going to laugh your ass off. The Craft in the 90s is about 4 girls who are witches and they do magic, whatever. They remade it and it's just all woke insanity. One of the witches is a trans woman. They turn the jock gay with magic. It's nonsense. These movies bomb. They fail miserably. They're losing money. Regular people do not like what the institutions have become. But so long as they can beat people into submission and tell them if you speak up, you're fired, people won't say anything. But now people are starting to speak up. Bud Light, as I mentioned, Disney, as I mentioned, and now Trump winning a popular vote victory finally silences the 8 to 10% of Americans who have this insane ideology. And we have the polling data on this. It's 8 to 10% of Americans that are woke. And the rest of the liberal side is just bowing down to them, scared they'll lose their jobs. Enough.
Scared they'll lose their jobs.
That's mostly it.
Yeah. Not everybody.
Not everybody. But I believe that if we get a Trump popular vote victory, more of these people are going to think the other way. And they're going to think, so most people like Trump? Well, I don't want to be a loser. I don't want to get people yelling at me.
Yeah.
I don't agree with those people. And that's how we shut down the fringe elements of the far left that have been violent and psychotic. And it will show this country is actually more unified than people realize.
I think that's right.
They call that a cultural victory.
Absolutely.
That's how it works. Or at least a sway of culture where cities start to pop back.
I would just like to explain briefly what I was talking about with Mark Zuckerberg, because that is an actual quote. And I know you're kind of believing his rebrand.
No, I'm just,
now.
So tell me.
He leans libertarian, but this is what he said in 2004. He said, yeah, so if you ever need info about anyone at Harvard, just ask. I have over 4,000 emails, pictures, addresses. People just submitted it. I don't know why. They trust me, dumb fucks.
That was 20 years ago?
Yeah, but do you really think his philosophy has changed
Oh
at all?
yeah, now that the government's been up his butt.
He's learned. He's growing.
Yeah, he's
become
utilitarian. He knows what they're going to do to him if he keeps participating.
He's become one of the most powerful men in the world, controlling one of the most powerful information apparati on the planet, and he's worth dozens of billions or whatever dollars, and now he's had a reformation.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, man, the Biden administration screwed that.
I'm just saying, I feel like big tech censorship isn't going to get significantly better under either candidate, whoever wins.
Well, that's a reasonable assumption. I mean, it does
I'm just
look
saying, like given the nature of what you do for a living,
Yep.
that is something that you obviously have to think about.
About censorship?
Mm-hmm.
What about the Streisand effect? They censor you, it makes you bigger. What do you think about that?
I mean, that's optimistic.
It depends,
Most people
actually.
will. I mean, you're never going to know because the people who fade into obscurity, they fade into obscurity.
Right.
It is not correct to say that once it's online, it's there forever.
Right.
For example, let's see if we can use the power of the internet. There was a cartoon on Reddit 10 or 12 years ago where there was this cartoonist on YouTube. I forgot what his name was. I don't know. Maybe you can find it. He made jokes mocking various subreddit. He had r/gaming and r/atheism. He made fun of the r/atheism subreddit because he was like, it's actually really cool that you guys make fun of people for having different beliefs. He got attacked so mercilessly by the left, he deleted the video, removed it from the internet. I've never been able to find it since. And it had a ton of views. It's gone. Mm-hmm. That's not the only example, it's just the one I can think of off the top of my head, where people have been able to successfully purge stories from the internet using reputation management firms.
I hear you. I think what the nature of what I do is a little different in that the content is king. So if you get something so compelling on video, it'll work its way. It'll work its way through other people. If I'm censored, it'll be distributed by proxy. So I was banned from Twitter in 2021 until Elon bought it, and then I was brought back in January 23. And people would distribute our stories by proxy. If it's a really good story, people will want to watch it. Just like people go to pay to see stuff, like they go to movie theaters to watch stuff. I think people will want to see it. I think you have to very compelling content, which randomly makes me think that good journalism is hard to come by, and good stories are hard to come by. But people can disagree on this.
Do you know what exactly got you banned in 2021?
It was so ridiculous. It was Kafkaesque. It was like, what did they say? They said
Kafkaesque.
It was like the most ridiculous, absurd, bureaucratic rationale. The same thing they're doing to Zach Apotheker from the Border Patrol. I had gone to a house in San Francisco. I did a story about CNN, undercover, and I went, or Facebook, or one of these companies, but it was on Twitter. I posted to Twitter, and I forgot to blur the lamppost of the number of the house. So they argued that I had infringed privacy by leaving the number on the lamppost, but CNN went to like people's private homes and blurred nothing.
Random old ladies
in trailer parks. You know about that one. So they banned me because I had violated the privacy of this lamppost in a public neighborhood. It was completely absurd and hypocritical. And I do remember when they banned me on Twitter, I'm like, whoa, because I never thought I'd cross that threshold. And for 2 years, I distributed my stories to other people. If it's really, really good, people will share it. That's my theory, at least.
Do you want to give Zach a call?
We're going to do it right now. This is the Border Patrol agent in Vermont. I'm going to be a DJ and have one ear off and one ear on so I can hear through the microphone. Zach Apotheker. Hey, Zach, are you there?
Jimmy, of course I am. Always here for you, brother.
You have the thickest Boston accent ever. You
want to put the microphone right up top?
I mean, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah,
I can't change now.
You're live. You're live on the air. Is this right?
Yeah.
It's okay. You're live with Tim, and we showed the clip of you in the patrol car, and we're talking about courage, and we're talking about people blowing the whistle. And Tim Pool made a point that, people are afraid of losing their jobs, afraid of retaliation. You're not. So you're the guy doing the thing. Can you just talk about why that is and people following your lead?
Well, I don't think I'm a courageous guy. I think, I grew up in a country that I grew up playing wiffle ball with my brothers in the backyard, running around my neighborhood. I grew up right outside Boston. I had a glorious upbringing. 4th of July barbecues, so forth and so on. Both my brothers got into drugs. We lost like a generation full of good men that started on maybe pills and then moved over to heroin. And I lost both my brothers. And when that happened, I felt a calling and a purpose. So I signed up for the Border Patrol. I don't want to make it seem like I was some grandiose Border Patrol agent. I was just a guy that wanted to go down to Arizona to stop people from coming to my country. And about 3.5 years ago, a little under 4 years, we started taking people, bringing them into the country, and giving them everything that would ever far exceed what you could ever imagine that American citizen would get. So I saw you running around doing your thing, and I reached out to you, and I said, listen, I'm never going to get my brothers back. I can lose my job, but what I'm not going to stand for is let my country go by the wayside without speaking out and saying something.
And they retaliated against you, Zach. What did they do to you? Because I know they took your gun away.
Me. They're trying to destroy me. They're throwing me
Right
in the
now,
corner.
they're trying to destroy him.
Yes.
And they took your gun away. Just really quick, like what did they do?
Through the station, took my gun away, took me off nights, took me off weekends. They said it wasn't disciplinary. They brought in criminal investigators to investigate me as if I did something criminal. All I said was, there's over 300,000 kids missing. Lincoln Riley's now deceased by somebody that the Border Patrol encountered, and I'm the bad guy. And they're trying to get me on a technicality. So luckily I have you. You have the big outreach. You're on Timmy Pool. I'm just here to say, when are we going to stand up and actually speak out for your country? I'm not saying you're going to be me.
But how do we, I don't know if Tim has a question, but we're trying to get other people to follow your lead, and they're trying to make an example out of you, and that's the concern.
Well, what was the moment when you were like, the straw has broken the camel's back, I have to speak?
There really wasn't one moment. James can attest to this. We were going back and forth. I called him crying. I'm not that courageous of a guy. And we hung up the phone, and the moment we hung up, Trump got shot in the ear.
That was it. That was the Trump getting shot was the moment.
Wow.
No, Zach, that was the day Trump got shot in the ear, and then you're like, okay. You're like,
I don't know if we're going to even have a country if that bullet goes
was
through
Trump
his head.
getting shot.
What? Yeah.
That was the line in your sand, right?
I was like, buddy, there might not be tomorrow. And I didn't know if I'd be successful. I didn't know if the movie, I didn't know nothing. I'm not a political guy. I'm not in the entertainment industry. I said, I want to go on record and say what's going on.
For those of you listening, you're listening to the Border Patrol agent in the film Line in the Sand who blew the whistle on the Border Patrol in his patrol vehicle, and now they're taking away his gun. They've reduced your salary, right? They're trying to Tim, they're trying to keep him employed but make his life a living hell so he quits.
Yep.
And my advice is to not quit. Don't quit. Right?
Look, we're standing here on principle. You're going to take me alive. You're going to take me as
I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees.
Zach, what should other Border Patrol officers do to follow your lead?
I mean, everybody knows what to do and what they should do. And a lot of times I get ad hominem attacked, like I wasn't that good of an agent, I wasn't this, listen, I'm not here to tell the next man what to do. But if you sit down with any Border Patrol agent and say, what have you seen over the last 4 years? They're going to say the same thing as me. And they're scared. They don't want to get treated like this. So maybe I can prove to them that, listen, it's not that bad. Whatever they do, at least the American people are going to appreciate it.
I can tell you that I have a lot of these Border Patrol agents that are talking to me on deep background, and they're fence sitters. They're like, let me see what happens to Zach. That's what they're all saying. They're literally watching this guy because they all hate what they're doing, and it's blood money.
There was in your film, one of the Border Patrol agents looks at you and says, "Hey, I'm a big fan," and shakes your hand.
It's weird. There's little girls. You got to watch this movie. There's little girls, and they're being picked up and trafficked. And they're just like, hate my life, hate my job, hate what I'm doing, but I need the money. And then I'm like, what are you guys doing? And he's like, hey, I'm a big fan. It was just the most absurd. I mean, it may have been the most absurd moment in the movie. It's lost in all of this is any semblance of right and wrong. So all these guys, Zach doesn't know this because he's not on all the calls, but all these guys, actually Zach knows some of the guys, are waiting to see what happens to Zach. So it's almost like Zach needs to survive and thrive, and then they'll follow him.
Listen, I'll go back to Boston, go be a carpenter. But what I'm not going to do is hand little girls off into the hands of the cartel because I'm getting paid $120,000, $130,000 a year. My mother always said to me, Zach, I don't care if you bag groceries. It's what's in your heart. I get choked up talking about it. I get emotional. But she said to me, she says, I don't care if you go bag groceries. It's what's in your heart that counts, and a man's character. It's not his job. So that's why I never had an allegiance or a loyalty to the brand of the Border Patrol to have a gun on my head. I signed up because both my brothers died. I'm never going to get them back. I signed up so drugs wouldn't come into this country. And next thing you know, all our resources are tied up in having people come in. And next thing you know, you're looking to your left and right, the desert's wide open. And what's really going on? And like you had Chad Wolf on your documentary. What did he say about the drugs that were coming to the fence? I mean, you saw drugs in your movie.
Chad Wolf said that drugs only come. They were saying that drugs only come in through port of entries. They come in everywhere. Zach, we got to go. Tim, any last comments?
No, just I really do appreciate your bravery, your honesty, and I wish more guys were like you.
Thank you, Zach.
If you guys don't mind, all I ask is I don't ask for a whole lot. I'm not trying to get nothing out of this. Just that the American people can keep an eye on my story. I don't care what happens to me. I just want everyone to be able to see it. And I know, James, you're going to push it. If they destroy me, at least let it be known.
They're not going to destroy you because they're going to have to go through me to get to you. And we're going to pay your legal bills. I'm paying his legal bills. We're going to pay all the whistleblowers' legal bills. Thank you, Zach.
Godspeed, Jimmy. See you later, Tim.
Have a good one, man.
So did you notice how this guy is the thickest Boston accent I've ever heard. I love his accent. I've been an accent person. I go undercover for a living, so I study this stuff. I think that you made a point. You said people are afraid of losing their jobs, afraid of this and all. It's almost like, what if the premise was, to hell with that? Okay, I'll lose my job. That's what he's about. He doesn't care.
But it's the equation of when people fear what happens to their country more than they fear reprisal, you get whistleblowers.
And I don't think that's happened until recently, right? I don't think that's been a thing.
I think for some people, they'll stand up and do the right thing no matter what.
The Vietnam War spawned a generation of people willing to do it. But since then, this is it. This is the beginning.
Yeah, I think so.
I think for a lot of people, we're going to start seeing this more and more. I think there's two kinds of whistleblowers. Guy gets a job because he's like, hey, I want to work security nights. He sees somebody doing something wrong and he goes, that's wrong and I won't stand for it. He's going to take personal risk, but it's the right thing to do. There's another kind of whistleblower where they're actually looking at a scale and they're like, if I say nothing, my life will be destroyed. I'm going to blow the whistle, right? So some of these whistleblowers who are going to come out, it's not because it's the right thing to do. It's because the alternative is worse.
That's very well put.
That's how bad it's getting.
They're having a crisis of conscience. Right, and it's very whistleblowing is extra legal. It's impossible to do it in a way where you're not breaking a few eggs. But that's a very astute way of putting it. There's a scale, and at some point you can't live with yourself. Most of these Border Patrol agents are miserable. And if you're watching Zach in the film, I can't even do what he does. So powerful. But if you're watching this, I will pay your legal bills. I have a foundation.
But let me clarify. I'm speaking economically. There is somebody who's going to be working a job, and they're going to say, if I don't call out the people who are stealing from this company is going to go out of business. I'm going to lose my job.
Right.
And so there's a lot of, I think we're starting seeing more whistleblowers that are looking at it more like, this country is about to collapse economically. If I don't do something now and speak out, it'll be worse than saying nothing.
It's almost like that Braveheart speech from Mel Gibson where he says, yes, you might keep your job, but for a while. And many years from now, when you're lying in your bed and you're sitting there, what would you give if you had one chance to go back to 2024 on the eve of the presidential election and blow the whistle on FEMA? And
or to vote. Go vote.
Or to vote. I mean, I think that most of the whistleblowers I talk to don't care if they lose their job.
Yeah.
They just don't care. Some things are more important than your job. And frankly, even if 100 people blow the whistle, it will change the world. But, of course, they're all watching Zach. They're all watching him and waiting to see what happens to him, seeing how he does. So what these people have to do is they have to make his life a living. They have to try to make his life a living hell. They have to try to hurt him. And my advice is don't quit. Don't quit.
Oh, man, it's so demonic.
Yeah, it's spiritual, Tim.
Yeah.
The whole thing's a spiritual war. I don't know if you know that, but it is.
Not only in the support of people coming out, that's obviously what you do and a lot of what your company does, which is extra spectacular, is the releasing the knowledge of what's happening in society. Because Tim, like you were saying, people will blow the whistle when the opportunity cost of not blowing the whistle outpaces, like, it's going to be worse if I don't throw my job away. It's going to get so. But if they don't know how bad it might get, so that's our job as educators, and a lot of what we do here and shows like this and people that are willing to ring the bell and show you like, hey, the U.S. national debt is $36 trillion and it's going up by $1 trillion a year, whatever. They show you the pain, they show you the problem, and they do it in a way that you don't look away. Then when you know the problem, it's easier to make the calculation of should I speak out against this.
I sent Tim a DM. There's a little girl in the desert walking all alone in the desert in the film. It's not an actress. It's a real girl. And people were emotionally... I didn't think it was that... I mean, I could have shown a lot worse. And there's this trailer. Just play the first few seconds of this trailer because this is a scene from the film. Boom.
We got an unaccompanied minor right here, guys. This is
Pause.
heartbreaking right here.
Pause.
See
Go
the
back to that.
handcuffs, guys?
This is just there's more in the movie, but this girl's all alone. Her clothes are tattered. She's drugged. And she says, and this is in the film, she says, my father's in heaven. Now she's speaking in Spanish. Translated it. I mean, people were crying. I don't think Americans are ready to see this. I don't think they understand this is a humanitarian crisis. So Border Patrol agents see this every day. Zach sees this. And he says, to hell with my job. I can't live with myself. I mean, this is real. This is not, I mean, Sound of Freedom, great movie. I love Sound of Freedom. This is not an actress. This is a real little girl walking all alone. And obviously, I don't even want to say what happened to her and what will happen to her. And I could have shown a lot worse, but people were overwhelmed just by the image of this little girl. And that shows me that we need more images like this because, Tim, that'll hopefully change things. Regardless of who wins, they have to reform the system.
Was she just like brought across, drugged up, and left?
Yeah, there's scenes in the film of kids drugged. They drug them.
What do they drug them with?
There's like this sedative in Mexico that they use to sedate them. And many of the facilities in Texas where they house these unaccompanied girls they're sexually abused and raped. And nobody talks about it.
Well, we're talking about it now.
Very rarely do you see stuff like this.
I think it's powerful because the entire concept and term for empathy has been abused by people who support open borders, and a lot of people mistakenly believe that supporting open borders
Helps
is
people.
the compassionate option.
That's not true.
And you're showing...
And you know what really is the reason why we don't talk about it? From my perspective, is because so many people are making money off this. It's all about money. You stop the flow of the people like this, you stop enriching the people. And the government's funding this. It's wild. And Tara Rodas blew the whistle on these unaccompanied kids, and that's why what Tim is saying is so true. When the cost of doing nothing outweighs your conscience, you can't brush your teeth, look in the mirror, and these images are in your mind, and it traumatizes you.
Who's Tara Rodas?
She's in the film. She's a federal government whistleblower who worked in the Office of Refugee and Resettlement, where they put all the kids. And she talked about all the hundreds of thousands of missing kids in the United States. Because a drug, you traffic cocaine, or you can only use that once. The child, you can use multiple times. And what I learned is the economics of human trafficking. There's a lot of money in housing the kids. And Tim said driving the kids around in the movie, you see, well, we drive all these people around making money. A lot of money in that, a lot of money in trafficking the children. You know where there's not a lot of money? Saving the children. There's no money in saving these people.
Like, what would be a way of saving them? Would it just be sending them?
Do you understand how many people will lose money if you close the border? There's nothing to be gained by closing the border.
Except for the lives of children.
Well, then, but therein lies the point, isn't it?
Yeah, what's a human life worth?
What's a human life worth?
$40,000.
You tell me.
I think it's 40,000. Yeah.
That's why the film is called Line in the Sand, and that's why. Yeah, that's what we're talking about here. What is it?
This crafty guy with a camera on his watch over here.
Actually, I do.
It seems like the longer you leave it open, the more business will spring up around it.
There's literally a man in the film who I say, so if they stop the flow of the children, you stop getting paid. He's like, yes, sir. Yes, sir, with a twinkle in his eye. Then he goes, that's life. In fact, people say that's life so many times in the film, I should make a rap video out of it. Like, that's life, that's life, that's life, that's life. I said, that's life. That's life. Lost in any of this is any morality or concern about humanity? And to your point, which is well said, they have the narrative, right? Well, you're trying to help these people. Listen, I rode the train with the Venezuelans. I jumped on a moving freight train in Mexico and rode it with and it changed my life because I realized, oh, these are decent people. No, they're not all criminals. They're trying to do the right thing.
How long were you on that train for?
I was only on there for a weekend.
No, but like a whole weekend you were on that train?
We were in Puerto, rode the train. There was a freaking guy with a machete, and they said, my colleague, like, hide. I'm like, hide? Well, I mean, this is dangerous. I was detained by the Mexican National Guard. I could have been ransomed. You used to do stuff. We used to work with Vice. You used to do street stuff. I mean, this is hardcore journalism that we did. And I was scared.
The one piece of advice I always have for everybody is don't panic.
Well, don't panic.
Especially when you don't speak their language.
Right. But the Venezuelans took us in. They like a herd animal. We were all just trying to survive. And it really was deeply moving for me to travel with them because it was all about survival and being part of a team and, but that image right there can change a lot of hearts and minds. Lineinthesandmovie.com. It's out now, and I think it'll go mainstream because it's not a political film.
So you for 2 days you were on this train? Is that what you're saying?
I was not on the train for 2 days. I was near Puerto. We rode the train.
Oh, I see.
My colleagues, Anthony had previously ridden the entire train, and he was
Beast. They call it, right?
La Bestia, the Beast, the Train de la Muerte, the Train of Death.
Jeez.
And it's usually a grain car. I was in a bolachera car, which is little iron balls, and they were so happy that they got to lay on iron balls. This is in the movie because it's more comfortable than the grain car. And Anthony Rubin had been kidnapped by the cartel. This guy's like, I don't know if you've ever heard of this guy. He's a YouTuber. And they took a crowbar, destroyed all of his cameras. And so he didn't have the footage from that trip. So when we were detained by the Mexican National Guard, this is in the film, my biggest concern was losing the footage. So I hid the SD chip in my cargo pants. And fortunately, when the Mexican National Guard detained me, they realized that I was a documentarian, and they became very terrified of me that I had recorded their illegal behavior.
Wow!
So they let me go. I actually don't.
You got a camera in your watch.
I had recorded the interaction with the Mexican National Guard on my.
Can I see
Epic.
This particular watch.
Oh,
it was not the one that I used.
Oh, okay. Because you pointed to it, you're like, I do have actually.
Not at the moment.
So I had a smartwatch 10 years ago with a camera in it.
Nice.
And nobody knows these things exist. I mean, you can look it up if you want, but they've been around for a while. You can
contact lenses with cameras in them.
Yeah, but some of this stuff on Amazon isn't very good. You have to have the right hidden camera. We use this as a low light watch camera. It's completely pitched black. So even GoPros 11 don't work well in low light. Wow. So you have to have the right hidden cameras. We have some good stuff. And I rode the train with the Venezuelans, and I have to say that it was deeply moving. It was really something. These are genuine. Some of these people are trying to get a better life, and if I was them, I'd be doing the same thing.
Is the footage in the movie?
It's in the film.
What was it? What exactly? How many hours on the train?
Oh, in the film we only show about 10 minutes of the film, but this is the entire stretch from Irapuato is a town south of Mexico City, and we had documented the journey all the way to Ciudad Juarez, and we had made friends with the immigrants, so they had sent us video. So we showed.
Ian,
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, Ian, you got to watch it. You just got to watch it.
Yeah, dude.
You got to watch
Line
it.
in the
I
sand.
just want to say this without calling anybody out, but James, you may get mad, but I actually let some friends watch it with me.
Oh.
And one of them started crying.
No way.
A grown man. When Act 3.
Which part?
The child part.
Oh, yeah, the children.
Yep.
Yeah. I didn't.
And he was like trying to turn it off too. And I was like, bro, you have got to. If you can't do it, you got to leave.
Do you think that people are? Do you think people are ready to handle this child trafficking, or they would rather not know about it?
I don't think.
I was mentioning that the intro to Sound of Freedom is really hard to watch. You know, it's when the father loses his children and the way they trick him and steal these children from him. It's difficult to watch. Now imagine watching the real thing. That's crazy. This is terrifying stuff.
It's terrifying.
I just say people got to watch it.
It's transformative, and I don't know why anybody has not done this before. I guess they're afraid of getting killed because in Mexico they assassinate you if you.
Yes, James.
The cartel is. I forget about that. The cartel makes what is it, 10,000 a person. So all these folks. So how do you take the money away without getting killed? Is the question.
Wrote James, this film you've made is a serious threat to a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope you're taking your security seriously.
I wouldn't say what I'm doing on the air about my security, but I think that in Mexico they kill you. In the United States, though, I guess they also try to kill you in the United States. They also try to assassinate you, and that's that. Here's a really serious question: if Trump wins, or when Trump wins, how does he reform this?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. If you had embarked on a project like this during the Trump administration, how would it have looked any differently? I can't imagine that the state of affairs at the border looked tremendously different than what you showed in this film.
I think that's a great point. The film will probably be more successful after the presidential election when we're not in this heightened political sensibility. How do you reform the industry? How do you change this is the question I have. And maybe Elon Musk can change it. You have to take away so many people's jobs, and the cartel is getting paid. So are you going to take down the cartel? How do you stop that? I'm not an expert in that. This is what I do. I'm a journalist. I expose it. But what do you think?
The U.S. military is an expert in doing that. I mean, honestly, if you're going to have a paramilitary organization creating chaos on your border, that's a military action waiting to happen, in my opinion.
I'm just saying this
moment.
situation was ongoing during the Trump administration. So are we to expect
the administrative state, the Department of Homeland Security and Health and Human Services are executive agencies that are not elected. And they're going to exist regardless of who wins, just like the IRS is going to exist. So someone has to reform that and dismantle that. And Trump, I think Trump in theory wants to, but he has to surround himself with people who have the balls to do that. And they will literally kill you. I mean, in Mexico, they kill people who try to change it. Now, I don't, that's a whole other subject, but
you could do something that's more profitable. Like there is the whole remove one thing and add something new that's better. You could help the cartels become a more profitable industry in doing things that are not so horrendous as drug and human trafficking.
Human beings are worth more than drugs.
Yeah, so another industry completely, like industries can shift. That's one way. Tech, mining industries.
If the cartel just learns to code, maybe they could program open source
software development.
Software.
I mean, I'm throwing things at a wall right now, but
that's one moment in the film, and it's in the please watch this movie. In the very first moment of this movie, there's a scene where I actually go to California, and you can actually see the cartel at the fence with a saw, okay? And they're buzzing through these steel beams in California. And I had planted recording devices on the beam so you could hear what they're saying. And they're saying, we need to get paid. And behind those men are people with guns. And if those guys retreat from their job of cutting through the fence, they'll get killed. And I am watching this, and I pull up, and I'm startled, and they see me, and there's this whole incredible sequence of events. And while the cartel is cutting through the steel beam with a massive saw, a Border Patrol agent is just watching. And I run up to the agent. I'm like, what are you doing? He's cutting through the steel. And the agent shrugs his shoulders and says, I'm sitting here. I'm sitting here waiting. I said, what is your purpose? You're a law enforcement officer why don't you just shoot that guy? It begs so many questions, and it's so broken.
We're going to go to Super Chat, so if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with everyone you know, leave us a good review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts, and become a member at timcast.com, because not only will you get to hang out in our Discord community, so you'll meet like-minded individuals, you'll make friends. If you're looking for people to talk to and you want to share ideas with and just, share good ideas with people that you might have. Timcast.com, click join us, and that members-only show will be coming up at 10. But I also have a big announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, next week for the election, what are we going to do? We are going to be in Nashville at the Daily Wire Studios. We are going to have our own studio set up where on election night, we will have both shows next to each other, and we're basically going to jump back and forth. I don't know the exact timing or structure, but Timcast IRL will be live all night for the election. Daily Wire is planning on doing the same thing. And then we're going to, at some point, get up and I'm going to go over there. They're going to come over here. And it's going to be a huge party. So it's actually really amazing that our crew and their crew and many others that were invited to this big election night party will be involved in this massive show. Not only is Daily Wire inviting a bunch of talent, but they have a bunch of invitees to their party. We are doing something similar, so there's going to be a bunch of familiar faces. I'm really excited for this. And I also want to give them a shout out, too, because you guys know I'm a huge fan of Am I Racist? And just as we're talking about just winning the culture war, they just launched Am I Racist on their Daily Wire members platform. So I think Matt Walsh and the crew hit this one out of the park. It's a 10 out of 10. I really respect it. This is not a sponsor post or anything like that. They didn't ask to sponsor this or have me say this. I just genuinely think it was a great film. And I think you guys should check it out. And we're really excited to have this trip to Nashville. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a big show. So I was waiting to say anything until the last minute, but that's the plan. And then throughout the week, it's going to be awesome. We will be doing the show from Daily Wire Studios. In the meantime, we will read your super chats. Shane H. Wilder says, Justin Robert Young, political historian and host of Politics, asked to hold off on placing blame with the fire too early. The left immediately went after him, calling him far right. Interesting. We don't know who did it, just that it is happening and it's scary. How about that? Derek asks, James, any plans to release the film to the masses prior to the election?
Yeah, the number one comment I'm getting is, why aren't you... why everyone needs to see this. And by the way, I want to answer this question, but the question I have is, I think this film is, you've seen it. It's a moral film, not a political film. It's politically agnostic.
I got to mention too, actually, one of my friends was like, is James pro-immigrant? Like, I don't understand.
Really?
Because you're just tracking what's going on with trafficking. And it's like, but he's concerned about the victims of trafficking. I'm like, it's not a question.
People are so Manichaean that they have to frame it that way. Yeah, I think has there ever been a conservative movement film that appealed to liberals? That stumped everybody, because Walsh's film is great.
Yeah.
I think the only documentarian I actually like is Matt Walsh. I love his films. I think 99% of people who buy the tickets are probably conservative.
Yep.
I've tried to create something here which will appeal to liberals, and I mean that sincerely. But Tim, you've been a journalist. Good journalism costs money, and you get what you pay for. So I'm not going to make this free. No great movie was ever free, as far as I'm concerned. It's at TuckerCarlson's.com right now.
Can we point out? I mean, the New York Times has millions of paying subscribers. This is a challenge for us. I know it's not easy for everybody, but the left is more than willing to pay for their ideological victories, and that's the challenge. It is the resources used to build institutions.
And I actually think the film, to answer the super chat question, I think the film is going to be more mainstream and more successful, not in a heightened political state. To your point, you got to solve this crisis when Trump wins. And I will try to get this movie in theaters. I think it will go mainstream. But we need good journalism costs money. There's a lot of free content out there. Really good. I spent a year on this film. I directed it. I sat in an edit room for 6 months, 7 foreign languages, 1,200 hours of footage. Great journalism is going to cost you.
Oh, dude, the scene with the Chinese den or whatever, these migrants that are Chinese, and the guy wanting drugs, is crazy.
Wild. It's like Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Seriously, he walks past like, the press is here now.
You got a effing bulletproof. I mean, it's real to watch it. Yeah.
Oh, dude. Yeah. All right. Here we go. Sideways says, nah, that joke was hilarious. People really just can't take a joke, left and right. Seems like only people who grew up on the internet liked it. But either way, it's like, if you don't like the joke, I saw some people who are Puerto Rican on the internet. They were like, I think the joke bombed, but I'm not mad at the guy. I don't care. It's just like, it's whatever. I'm not mad at jokes. Dave Chappelle, this is what I said. I was like, I am shocked. I was like, one of the Krasensteins said, I can't believe you made this joke. And I was like, I agree. When Dave Chappelle made fun of Asians, I was shocked. I was outraged that Netflix would allow such racism. Like, are we really supposed to care how comedians make jokes like this? Come on.
Well, in the after part of the show, I'll play a slightly not too raunchy clip. It's a roast. It's just a roast. Is it funny? I don't know. Do you find
maybe not for
funny?
kids though?
Not for kids.
Yeah,
not for kids.
There we go. All right, Jacob Ollie says, Tim and panel, how would you all feel with this reform? States keep their number of electoral votes under the Constitution, but they're awarded proportionally. For example, under this, Biden would have won 2020, 272 to 265. I don't know what that means proportionally. Electoral votes are a combination of their seats in Congress. So what does that mean?
I don't know.
Right? If they have one member of Congress, that's one vote, and they get 2 senators, that's 3 votes. So I don't know what you mean, sir. All right, what is this? What have we here? SBC says bop was used like thought long before it was used to describe the popularity of songs. It's an old Houston colloquialism.
Is that the term that you used?
Yeah, bop.
Bop?
What's thought?
I shouldn't explain the meaning of it, though, when you use it like thought. It's too vulgar.
That's a bop. That's the gas. That's the Riz.
No.
A thought is a hot person?
What?
A thought is
Hot means that hoe over there.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bop is like the hoe over there of songs?
No.
Pop. Urban Dictionary.
Bop is either the song or bop is the thought, but I can't explain
Oh.
the bop
Dictionary.
who's a thought. I can't explain
'cause
why.
You bop the thought if you're having sex with hoes.
It's
All
not a
right.
verb.
Dex and Dice LLC says, ew, is it? Ractos for life. LOL, what say you, Moonlord?
I thought he was black and red last week when I was thinking about
Ractos.
it. I was like, I bet he's black and red. And then it showed that his favorite card, we're talking about JD Vance,
Yeah,
by
but
the
that's
way.
monocolor
His
back
favorite
then.
color is the Firex. What is it?
His favorite card was Yawgmoth's Bargain.
Yawgmoth's
of which
Bargain.
I pulled mine.
Amazing
it's yours,
card.
actually, I think. The Yawgmoth's Bargain, I think it's yours.
It is.
Yeah.
It's banned from Commander because you have 40 health.
Okay, well, let's pause.
Yep.
They ran a smear against JD Vance. This is I was loving this.
I knew it.
He's not Rectos.
We'll find out.
This was Urza's Destiny. Okay, they ran a smear against JD Vance saying that his favorite Magic the Gathering card can prove something about his dark ambitions.
It's just a good card, though.
And so he said, when I was 13, I played Magic the Gathering. The problem is when you're 15, the girls aren't interested in guys playing Magic the Gathering, so I stopped. He was asked what his favorite card was. He said Yawgmoth's Bargain. This is so for those that don't know anything about Magic, there's 5 colors. Each color has an identity. There's white and black, red, green, and blue. Blue is control. Green is growth. Red is passion and aggression. White is honor and order. And black is ambition and sacrifice. So because he said his favorite card was a black Magic card, they were arguing. A Democrat literally said, this represents how he would sell his soul for power. And I'm just like, guys, literally it's a children's game, okay? I mean, adults play it too because it's a strategy game and it's fun. But I'm like, if a 13-year-old kid is playing a wizard game with black magic, it's not because he wants to sell his soul for power. It's because he wants to play a strategy game where he casts a fireball on his friend.
And if he's using Yawgmoth's Bargain, it's because he's good.
No, if he's using Yawgmoth's Bargain,
is awesome.
In 1999, if he was playing that card, it's simply because that was the best card.
It's amazing.
That was it.
Yeah, it makes sense that it's his favorite card. That's like
I
my
can
Tolarian
simplify.
Academy.
Imagine if they said JD Vance plays chess and his favorite piece is the queen. I'd be like, okay, that shows he wants power because the queen can move in every direction as far as it wants. I'd be like, no, it's just a good piece.
His choice of white indicates his
Yes,
racism.
exactly. When he plays chess, he prefers to play white. Well, white's got a small advantage. That proves he's racist. That's basically what they did. Anyway, I was loving it because any opportunity to talk about Magic the Gathering is fun.
Oh, it's so hot.
All right, here we go. Acoustic Theory says there is another case of eating the dogs. It's an outlandish comment, but this is another case of eating the dogs, but it highlights the real problem that I didn't know about. There's an actual real problem with landfill space in Puerto Rico. A lot of people are saying that the greater context is that there's landfill problems in Puerto Rico, and with the hurricane damage, he was saying a lot of stuff was destroyed, and the news around it was basically like, hey, this stuff needs to get fixed, but the media doesn't care. They don't care about comedy. Any opportunity. And so I don't know. I think it's probably fair for people who are like, maybe you shouldn't have an insult roast comic this close in the election or something. But
fair criticism.
But I like comedy. I think Tony Hinchcliffe is a hilarious guy, and I thought the jokes were all funny. So
it's like a forum. Like you wear a tuxedo to a black tie event. It's just one of those sorts of things. You just don't do certain things certain places, but. I don't know if that's true, actually. Here.
Michael Villafana says, I'm Puerto Rican and I thought the joke was freaking hilarious. My mom, who was born in Puerto Rico, would have laughed too. She always called PR trash. It's funny too how there's a lot of Puerto Ricans who are like, I thought it was funny. And there was one I saw, they posted on an X and they're like, I'm more offended at the white liberals acting like they're offended for me. Yeah.
Looked like the white liberals thought it was funny though.
A lot of people are pointing out that there's like real issues in Puerto Rico with like their waste management. So it's like it has a kernel of truth.
Mm-hmm.
All right, what have we here? Wyatt Kaldenberg says, Tim, Madison Square Garden has moved 4 times. The 1939 building is not the same building as today. MSNBC never fact-check its own research, its own news reports. Yeah, Yep. That's right. The Care of the Bear says, Canuck here, Puerto Rico has a landfill problem, thus a garbage problem. Kill Tony wasn't wrong or racist or whatever. Also, can you be racist against a country for criticizing the state of the country, like its government?
No.
I don't think it's racist to be like, if you were to say, insert African nation has a problem with waste, that's not racist. You're criticizing a government.
Yeah, I'll say that all the time, so.
Yeah. Logic Plague says, burning ballots gives someone the ability to say, see, we have to accept ballots post-election. Or it gives them the ability to be like, see, the election is compromised because ballots were destroyed. That's crazy. Ginger McIsaac says, a pick six is an interception taken for a touchdown.
Yeah, you can't run a play. You can't run a pick six. It can happen in football, but it's
it's like you're not planning for it to happen.
Correct. And he said they ran a pick six.
He said AOC can run a mean pick six.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do you run a pick six?
No.
What does that mean, pick six?
It means that someone picked off the ball, interception, and then they ran it back for 6 points, which is a touchdown.
Oh, I see. Ah, okay.
I looked that up. Full transparency.
Yeah, if it's about skateboarding or Magic the Gathering, I can tell you literally everything. But if it's football, I don't know anything about that stuff. Although I do know that SNL skit was really funny, where he's like, "We'll play football," and they're like, "And this is the game where you kick the ball with your feet." No, you throw a ball with your hands. That was
football americano.
That's right. What have we here? The deplorable Miss Drake says, ballot box fire seems like a false flag. The left is extreme and the right hates mail-in ballots. I wouldn't be surprised if a Republican is blamed. I don't know.
Occam's razor, just a crazy guy doing a crazy thing. Simplest explanation here, possibly.
Yeah.
It should not be in an unattended box.
Yeah, they should be locked. Should all be locked.
They are locked.
You can still slide
They're
stuff
locked,
in
but
there.
And then they slid it in
They
the...
shouldn't be in there.
Yeah, there should be. No early voting. Just, no. That's ridiculous. Voting month? That's ridiculous. Election day should be a holiday, and everybody gets to go vote if they so choose. It should not be mandatory either.
I don't know. I'd be out of town if that were the case.
Yeah, that's too bad. Me too. So we have to go vote early, but I still think if we were in a circumstance where you had to be here to vote, we'd be here to vote. Yep. John says, what's it? Serosanguinus. There you go. People in Arizona were caught on video calling votes wrong. Dems registered R to vote for Nikki Haley. Tim thinks we're stupid. Why? Because I'm saying there should be 3 people counting each ballot. What is that? How is that stupid? You want only one person pretending to be a Democrat to count your votes? Is that your argument? For real? Okay. So I don't know what you expect to happen. Debatably Yours says max number of voters in a precinct is 5,000. National average is 3,000. We did recounts in Michigan. Took an hour to do a precinct with 2 people watching. Not hard to count paper ballots. This is the issue that people don't understand. The Democrats are going to say, "Oh, but there's hundreds of millions of ballots." I mean, how are you going to count all these things? Because you only have, like in one county, 300 something people in a small area, and a handful of people count the votes, and then they all agree, and then that number gets sent up, and it's decentralized. The number gets added to the database, and at the top, we see what the number is. And changing one won't be the big enough move to change the bigger picture. That's the game. All right. Stone Mason says, a music cast, and I'm late. Thanks. Congrats. That's right. We have a new song called Hunger Inside coming out on Halloween at midnight.
I want to play that promo tonight.
Play the promo.
Let's play it before we end the main show. 50,000 people need to hear it.
We'll play it right at the end. And then James O'Keefe is going to play Plush. He's going to sing Plush by Stunt Temple Pilots on the Members Only show. Everyone's been waiting for this moment.
Yes, I'm waiting for this moment. It's my favorite moment.
That's great. Joe Spinella says, wrong, Tim. We didn't always use paper ballots. For the first 50 years, we went to the courthouse, put our hand on a Bible. The clerk held and swore under penalty of perjury that we haven't voted already and loudly made our vote. Interesting. Bring that back, I guess. Everyone swears on the Bible. All right.
Be cool if they just shout out like a cuss word, though. They're like, I saw that's supposed to swear.
Dane Peterson says, it's my 47th birthday tomorrow, and all I want is for everyone wanting a Trump presidency to go vote. All I want is for everyone wanting a Trump presidency to go vote for him. I'm in deep red Texas, and I will definitely be voting red straight ticket. I implore to do the same. Stop the bleeding. I would just love to see California's got 10 million Republicans and like 6 million vote. You guys want to know a secret? AOC won her election in New York with about, I think, 79,000 votes. There's an estimated 180 to 200,000 Republican voters in her district or conservative-leaning voters. You only need half of the Republicans in her district, and you would get a Republican in New York. But they won't go.
They might.
vote.
They might now.
Yeah.
That's the truth. If enough Americans become activated in one direction, they control the political narrative.
Could you imagine AOC losing to the Republican?
Not anymore.
If you are in her district and you're conservative, get everyone you know to vote, and you will win, and she will lose. How about this? Even if she wins, what if it was close? Imagine she'd be sweating bullets, and she might start changing her tune, realizing that she could lose her election.
Mm-hmm.
I wish, though. I wish. It's looking like in some jurisdictions, like Pennsylvania, some of the polls are showing the Democrats winning the Senate race. But Trump is slightly ahead for the presidency because Kamala's that bad.
Historically, it was never about getting out more of the base to vote. It's about affecting the moderates. But this time, it seems like everyone's about get out the vote.
Yep.
That's interesting change.
Look, if every Republican in every deep blue district voted, there would be 0 Democrats in office.
But is that possible? That's not possible. Right? Theoretically, it's possible, but
Theoretically, it's possible. It's just that their Republicans are going to be like, I don't care.
right. Yeah.
Christians vote in low proportions.
Throughout the 20th century, it was always about change the people who are in the middle. That was always what the strategy was politically.
The word is that a higher density of Christians are not coming to vote. And for whatever reasons, Christians, like actual devout, they do not vote. I don't know. That's why in Charlestown, you have a liberal city council and a Latin mass. And I'm like, how is this possible? And councilman told me it's because the Christians won't vote. They just won't do it.
Why?
What explained to me is that many of them think that their duty is to God, not the state. So they think that going to church is voting, and they ignore their earthly duties. And it's greatly offensive to a lot of people, because I'm sure there's a lot of Christians who are like, no, you must fulfill your divine mandate here on earth with your responsibilities and your duties. But the way it was explained to me is that a lot of these religious people feel like going to church is their duty, and they need do nothing else.
Well,
I saw like Kamala supporters rallying in Charlestown on
Really?
Sunday. Did you see that?
No.
Did you drive past? I drove past these people and I didn't see. I looked down the street. You can see literally this church and then these people with abortion is healthcare signs.
Well,
Where are we?
The old abandoned pawn shop across from the casino is the new GOP headquarters. I saw all the signs and I was like, what's happened to the old casino pawn? And it's got a big sign saying GOP headquarters. I was like, oh, would you look at that? There you go. Congratulations. All right, let's grab some more. What is this? Smith Creek Farms, it says, we lost our cat Pickle to FIV today. But in happier news, thank you so much for shouting out our biz last year. You guys helped us grow more than you can imagine. You guys are doing great work. Well, shout out to you. Thanks for the super chat. Sorry to hear about your cat. That's unfortunate.
Pickle.
That's no good. That's no good. All right. Oh, someone mentioned this is interesting too. Barrett says, also tax on unrealized gains, big for billionaires. Yup. A lot of billionaires are like, we will not let this woman win.
Yeah. That's like Zuckerberg, all those guys, Bezos. What an insane concept that is.
Lizard for Thursday says, I run a local election. Voter interference is against the law. Stopping a resident from voting is just that. Something a fellow resident can do is challenge another ballot for whatever their reason is. Key is fellow resident initiative. Huh. Interesting. Stephen Tom says, Tim, there's several videos of ballot boxes on fire. Crazy. Bridget May says, Vancouver isn't deep blue. Suburbs are red. Joe Kent. Wow. That's crazy, man. Mizamori says, in your Supernatural video, you should have cited the Next Generation episode, The Devil's Due. The woman impersonates the devil using advanced technology. This is in response to a argument I made about the idea that something is supernatural is nonsense. So there's an argument on Twitter where someone was saying, it was Colin Wright, he was saying that just because we don't know the origin of life doesn't mean that we can make a supernatural explanation for it. But I just was like, okay, well, define supernatural. And the problem is supernatural, he responded with not natural. And I just...
Yeah, I think
it's not the definition of supernatural.
God's formation of life could be like a wave guide. I asked Jim Tour about this, who's a chemist, leading pioneer graphene scientist on Earth. He's also a creationist. and thinks we talk about where does life come from, and physics and chemistry has been trying to figure this out. And I'm like, could you use sound to guide amino acids in a wave pool to create life? And he's like, not as we know it. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. Like, I think there's some sort of guidance that's causing things to form into matter and then matter into life.
My point is that there are a lot of people who are atheists and who are like, the only way to explain something is based on what we think we know. And I'm like, what? Hypotheses exist for a reason. And the argument is the idea of a grand creator is supernatural, therefore it's implausible and shouldn't be considered. And I'm like, that's actually really bad science. Just because God exists and you don't understand the mechanisms by which God exists doesn't mean it's supernatural. It's just beyond our current understanding, which is fine to say that's what supernatural means if that's what you're trying to define it as. So one definition of supernatural is beyond our current scientific understanding. But if that's what the definition you're using is, to then argue we should not consider the supernatural is literally saying, if we are going to try and determine how something came to be, we should not pursue ideas that exist outside of what we already think we know.
Yeah, don't assume that something supernatural is the way it is, but be open to the idea that it might be.
All right, everybody, we are going to go to the members only show. So smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know, become a member by going to timcast.com. If you're looking for new friends or people to hang out with who are like-minded, we have a Discord server. As a member, you get access. You're in this chat room. You're going to make new friends, man. Because it's great how many people got to know each other and hang out every day, and they do shows. There's pre-shows, there's after-shows, and you get access to the members-only show coming up in just a few minutes. We're going to go around with our shout-outs, and then after we do, I'm going to give you a preview of the new single, Hunger Inside, that's coming out on Thursday. So again, share the show, smash the like button, follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. James, do you want to shout anything out?
Lineinthesandmovie.com, where you can purchase the movie and watch this incredible film about the border.
You amazing James O'Keefe. Follow James O'Keefe on Twitter. You are a pioneer. You are what's that guy? Lawrence of Arabia in real life of our generation. I like that guy a lot. Laurence Olivier, was that his name? Dude, you're the real deal, James. I love you, man. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And you follow me at Ian Crossland. Rock and roll, baby. I'm all over the internet. Follow me.
You can find me on Instagram at X at Mary Archived, and you should go subscribe to Pop Culture Crisis. We're going live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, and I hope to see you there.
Now for the members only, we're going to have James O'Keefe sing Plush by Stuntable Pilots. But if you've got one quick 40-second or 1 minute, I'm going to give you a preview of the new song Hunger Inside as per the request of Ian. And here you go. Wait, in fact, I have to unmute it because it is muted. So let's start it over.
Trump dance. You should put it the Trump.
There you go. So that'll be out this Thursday at midnight. It will be available, hungerinside.com. We will see you all over at timcast.com in a minute. Thanks for hanging out.